Neon lights are like meteors over the high-profile glass curtain wall, and this high-tech city in City A will never sleep. As night falls, the floating advertising screen on the street is filled with the latest medical AI promotion, the bitter fragrance of the coffee shop is filled with the air, and the low buzz of the electric racing car is mixed with. Haoran's company building, Yajing Medical Technology Center, stands in the city center, like a silver spoiler piercing the sky. This is not an ordinary writing building, but a temple of innovation and wealth. In the top laboratory, the blue light screen reflects the tired and excited faces of scientists. Haoran pushed open the automatic door of the conference room, and his footsteps roared on the smooth marble floor, beating everyone's heartbeat like a war drum. He wore a deep blue dress that was tailored and slapped, revealing the concealed scar in his neck, a thought left by a practical accident when he was young. At the age of 30, he always had an unquestionable domineering atmosphere between his eyebrows, and his eyes were as sharp as a keel. When he swept through the room, every employee subconsciously straightened his waist. Report progress. Haoran sat in the main seat with his butt. His voice was low and full of magnetic, like the hot cocoa in winter, with a thorn in the warmth. Chief Engineer Lao Wang wiped the sweat from the bottom of his head, and a bunch of complicated data curves jumped on the projection screen. President, our nanomedical chip is stuck. The simulation test shows that the biocompatibility after implantation is only 78%, far below expectations. The team tried 3 algorithms, but none of them could be optimized. There was an awkward silence in the room. The fragrance of coffee scented in the air was spread out from the automatic sales machine, reminding everyone that this was a long night. Haoran had a slight brow, and was impatient in the sea of brain. He is not the kind of person who will patiently listen to the words. As Huayao's founder, he has led the company from a small laboratory to a huge market value of 100 million. But the pressure is like a shadow. The shadow of rival Li Chang is getting closer and closer, and the guy is secretly digging his wall, and a breakthrough in medical technology is imminent. Let me see. Haoran stretched out his hand, and the screen automatically switched to his personal interface. A hidden AI gold finger, his own eye of prediction system, was quietly activated. This is not the ordinary AI on the market, but the monster he coded manually. It can simulate millions of variations in seconds, and the prediction and experiment results are as accurate as a god. The staff held their breath and focused. Lao Wang muttered in a low voice, "President, you saved the scene this last time." Haoran ignored it, stared at the screen and tapped the desktop with his fingers. AI's computing lights flash in virtual projection in the air, and the data are like a rainstorm. Suddenly, a sneer appeared on the corner of his mouth. "Idiot, you're ignoring the quantum smear effect. Adjust the spin of nanoparticles from 0.3 to 0.7, inject the biological enzyme catalyst, see here." On the screen, the curves instantly roll up, and the compatibility has increased to 96%. The whole room burst into a low voice, and Lao Wang widened his eyes. "Oh my God, how is this possible? We tried it all week." Haoran leaned back to the back of the chair, crossing his hands. "Because you are using old thinking. Technology is not a pile of data, it is a foreseeing the future." He looked at the crowd, and his genius was inspired by encouragement. "A meeting. Before tomorrow, the prototype will be online. Who will stumble again and take the eggs by himself?" The employees were as if they were amnesty, and they stood up all the time, with awe in their eyes. Before leaving, Lao Wang couldn't help but say, "President, you are such a genius. With you in the company, we are not afraid of anything." After the door was closed, the meeting room was calm. Haoran rubbed the sun's acupoint, and his heart was as white as a tide. Perfect technology is not for fame and fortune, but for protection. That accident that you're almost left everything I had. Now, I want to make the doctor no longer be gambling, but iron law. There are also lovers. No, there are not yet. But one day, I will find the person I can stand shoulder to protect all of this." He stood up and walked towards the floor-to-ceiling window. Outside the window, the night view of City A is as bright as a science fiction movie. An unmanned plane plans a light in the air, and a luxury sport car is flying on the interchange. This city advocates innovation and wealth circulates like air, but love is often quietly released in crisis. Haoran took a deep breath and turned away. There should be processed. The company needs new blood, especially the assistant position. On the interview list, a name that caught your eye, elegant and quiet. The facade room is located in the middle of the building, with simple and luxurious decorations, and abstract DNA spiral artworks are hung on the wall. When Haoran pushed the door in, Yajing sat at the table with her hands in elegant posture. She was about 25 years old, with a long black hair shawl, wearing a fitted white shirt and narrow skirt, her eyes as bright as autumn water, and she had a sense of neither humility nor arrogance. The faint jasmine fragrance on her body was filled with the air, mixed with the air conditioning inside, making people feel refreshed. Linya's quiet. Haoran sat down directly, without saying a word. Yes, President Haoran. Yajing raised her head, her voice as crisp as a kettle, and the corners of her mouth were slightly raised. She wasn't scared by his aura, but looked straight into his eyes. I'm so excited to see you. Your nanochip project, I've read in the paper, is simply a revolution. Haoran raised his eyebrows. This woman was not simple. The interview is usually the HR, but he asked himself that he was trying to find a gold mine. Tell me about your background. Why did you come to Huayao? Yasu smiled slightly and pushed the delicate framed lens on her nose. I graduated from the Department of Bioengineering at A. I used to be an assistant in a small company, but it was too conservative. Your company is different. Innovation is DNA. I brought me some simplicity and a little idea. She took out a piece of documents from her bag and passed it over. Haoran took it and flipped through it. The AI gold finger automatically scanned to verify the true verbality. Simple and perfect, top-pointed performance, 2 published articles. But what attracted him more was the last page, a hand-drawn experiment sketch about the optimization of the biointerface of nanochips. What is this? Haoran's lingerie was full of interest, and under the domineering shell, there was a detailed observation. He got closer, and the air between the two seemed to be hot. The elegant face was slightly red, but the eyes were firm. Ah, unexpected feeling. When I was watching your visit in the cafe, I remembered how caffeine affects neural quality. Perhaps, I could use that mechanism to allow chips and neural cells to be more synchronously integrated. It's not a big change, but it can improve stability by 5%. Haoran was stunned. AI is flying in the brain, 92 ability. This is no coincidence, this is the intuition of a genius. He stared at her, his voice low. Do you know? Our team was stuck at this point. Your spirit is coming too soon. Yo was blinking quietly, trying to cover the bird's inner croaker. Just an idea, President. You're an expert, I'm just... Just what? Haoran cut off her, got up and rolled to the table, leaning over to look at the straw picture. His breath was so close that it was a little bit close to him, and with a faint smell of ancient dragon water, it made his calm heart beat faster. Don't worry. Huayao needs someone like you. From tomorrow, you're my core assistant. Double your salary and the office is on the top. Yajing widened her eyes, sparks collided in the two people's videos. President, how fast? Don't you try to use me? Haoran stood up straight and a playful smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. Try it. Your eyes tell me that you are trustworthy. Also, this spirit, it saved my project. Welcome to join, Calm. She stood up and reached out her hand. The moment of shaking hands, a warm touch came from the palm, waving like current. Yajing thought, this man is domineering and gentle. His charm, like the blue light in the laboratory, illuminates all shadows. Or maybe, here is not just work, but start. Haoran opened his hand relaxedly and turned toward the door. Work overtime tonight and come to the test room to see me. I'll ask for coffee, black coffee, no sugar. At a quiet look, watching his back disappear into the corridor. Her fingers still had the warmth, and a warm current surged in her heart. Finally, she found a stage that could make me shine. The top floor experiment room, the blue light depends on the old flash. Haoran leaned against the console and replied to her in his brain. Perhaps, this is the beginning, the unexpected collision of technology and love. Outside the door, the city's lights continued with no chance. The blue light in the experiment room surfs like a tide, reflecting on the silver-gray metal wall. The air is filled with the clear smell of disinfectants and the low-frequency buzzing sound of the electronic equipment. It was late at night, and the neon lights of city rolled in from the floor-to-ceiling windows, like countless eyes. Haoran stood in front of the console, dancing with his fingers on the holographic projection, and the data flowed like a silver river. He glanced at the clock on the wall, 10:30. Yajing should be coming soon. The door slid open and broke the swaying sound, and Yajing walked in with a small briefcase. She changed into a simple white experiment robe. Her hair was casually slim and a tired and excited red on her face. He walked lightly and quickly, and when he stepped on the anti-slip floor, he made a slight squeak, which made Haoran turn involuntarily. "President, are you still busy?" Yajing put the bag on the work table, with the sound intimate, like the slight wind of a summer night, light and soft without losing strength. Haoran pointed his head and his mouth slightly raised. "Just call me Haoran. There is no president here, only scientists. Come and see our medical AI system. Nanochips are just the foundation, and the core is this set of predictive surgical simulators able to simulate real-life surgery, predict risks, and revolutionary things." He snatched his hand, the projection screen spread out, and a virtual human model appeared, and his blood vessels were moving like a blue river. Elegant and quiet, her eyes lit up, and her fingers gently touched the interface in the air, and the touching reaction made her slightly slight. "Wow, is this driven by a quantum computer? Is the simulation accuracy high enough to predict heart rhythm fluctuations?" "It's right." Haoran leaned against the side, crossing his arms with his chest, and proudly expressed his domineering language. But the problem is that the AI's learning curve is too steep. During the simulation, 10% of the variables escaped the prediction. The team tried for 2 weeks and was stuck. Slight bites her lips and stares at the screen with her eyebrows. Her fingers were plotted on the projection, magnifying the nerve spots. Or maybe, it's not that AI is not smart, but that the input data is too single. Why does it not integrate the patient's sentimental factors? Pressure hormones affect surgery success rates, I mentioned in the paper. Haoran raised his eyebrows and looked at her seriously for the first time. This woman is not only smart, but also always hits the key point. On weekdays, he was unscrupulous and his team moved like a machine, but his elegant suggestion was like spring rain, and the sound of things was gone. Funny. Try it. Access your caffeine neural quality model. The two stood shoulder to shoulder, their shoulders occasionally touched, and the jasmine fragrance on her body was scattered in the air, mixed with the wood of the Haoran ancient dragon water. Yajing operated the interface, and Haoran activated his AI gold finger, the predictive eye hidden in the hand ring. The low sound of the calculation sounds, like a heartbeat, the rhythm is clear. On the screen, data is crazy, virtual surgery begins, a light knife cuts the skin, injects nanochips, and AI adjusts the path in real time. "Be careful, the blood vessels here are thin." Yajing reminded her quietly, and her fingers entered the parameters. Haoran pointed at the head, and his voice was calm. "AI, optimization path. Injected 0.7 spin. Simulation acceleration." At first, everything went smoothly, but suddenly, the screen flashed variable alarm. The heart rhythm of the virtual patient plummeted and the chip began to repel. The team members, Lao Wang and several night shift engineers, came from the rest area and surrounded by white faces. "It's coming again. This ghost thing is stuck here every time." Old Wang wiped his sweat, his voice was quick. Yajing was not panicked, her eyes narrowed. "Haoran, try my model. Add the emotional module and simulate the human reaction under pressure." Haoran saw it for a moment, but her eyes were as firm as stars, which made his heart warm. He never heard from others, but at this moment, he pointed. "Fuck. AI, full scan." The golden fingers flew, and the blue light was flourishing. Data are reorganized like a violent wind, and the elegant input and Haoran's prediction are perfectly integrated. On the screen, the red light retreats, the heart rhythm is stable, and the chip is implanted smoothly. Success. The virtual surgery ended with an accuracy of 99.8%. The room burst into tears. Lao Wang clapped and shouted, "It's been successful. The first time I'm perfectly imitated." The engineers slapped their hands and laughed in the laboratory, as if they had been drought for a long time. Haoran turned to the tranquility, with a rare soft light in his eyes. He stepped forward, his voice was low and full of strength. "Elegant, this is your skill. Your straightforwardness complemented my algorithm. If it weren't for you, we would have turned around in place." He patted her shoulder lightly, feeling warm, and stayed a little longer than expected. Yajing's face turned red and she lowered her head and smiled. "Haoran, this is the team's victory. You are a genius, and the AI gold finger is straightforward." "No," Haoran shook his head, and his domineering smile became gentle. "Genius needs a partner. You let me see that technology is not just a cold data. I was alone in my heart. In the past, I just lived for work, pushing everything forward domineeringly. But she, like a long light, shining into my shadow. Perhaps, protection is not only technology, but also people." The shouting is slow, and the night is getting deeper. Haoran took out 2 cups of black coffee from the automatic cellar, and the steam rose and the bitter fragrance spread out, like a coffee shop in an old Shanghai alley, warm and sincere. "He gave you a calm glass, no sugar, as I said. Overtime bonus." Yajing contacted her, and her face warmed her fingertips. She took a sip and her eyes turned into crescent moons. "Thank you. Haoran, you are always so direct. What love do you have outside of work? You can't go to the laboratory every day." Haoran leaned against the window, staring at the car flow outside, and his voice sounded, "Boom. Open my sport and follow the sea road." The wind blows over his face, and that kind of freedom is hard to do. He turned to look at her with deep eyes. "Where are you? Elegant, what makes you relax?" She smiled, and the coffee cup moved in her hand. "Read the book or go to the coffee shop to have a day. Like today, my brain is full of ideas, so I don't feel tired." The two of them looked at each other, and the smell of coffee in the air seemed to have brought the distance closer. The romantic force is like a hidden wire, lying on them. Her gentleness softens his just hardness. Suddenly, the console issued a rogue alarm. On the screen, a string of data is unusually flashing. Lao Wang came over and said, "President, has the mock record been interviewed by an outsider?" The firewall did not respond. Haoran's face darkened, and he was domineering and said, "Check. Who dares to move Huayao?" He knocked on the keyboard and scanned it with an AI, but he didn't get anything. Her elegant and quiet eyebrows approached her end. She had just used it. "Wait, I have a trace here. Look at this IP, it's decorated as an internal network, but it has a tail." Her fingers danced, enlarged the diary. Suddenly, she gasped, "Oh my God, this is a mingling software. An embedded wooden horse specializes in retrieving AI algorithms. The sending target is Li Chang's company." The room was silent for a moment. Lao Wang glared. "Li Chang? That bastard is here again?" Haoran's fist hit the crow, and his voice was thunderous. "Don't die." He kept staring at us, but this time he actually penetrated in. He turned to Yajing, his eyes were complicated. In anger, he was grateful. "How did you find it? Most people ignore it." The elegant voice was calm and sounded, "Look straight away. I met a similar person in the old company before, and I took a look at the habit. Haoran, we have to fight back. Block the port and follow the source." Haoran looked at her head, and a warm current surged in her heart. She was not only smart, but also reliable. Since then, he always carried the pressure on his own, but now, with her around, his shoulders are a little lighter. The transformation of growth quietly happened. Dominance is no longer a lonely war, but learning to trust. "Okay, together. Yajing, from now on, you are my deputy. Join with you with full authority. Tell me, what tools do you need? Just your AI, and a cup of coffee. She blinked and smiled like a flower. Haoran starts the anti-tracking program, and on the screen, the light chases like a dog. Lichang's shadow first appeared, but the team's trust solidified like a steel. The night wind blows in from the window, bringing the smell of sea, indicating the calmness before the storm. The two of them fought side by side, and the aroma of coffee relies on the old journey, symbolizing this cooperation from the cold and stern laboratory to the opening of the heart. Lao Wang said in a low voice, "With you, Huai Yao is invincible." Haoran did not reply, but his eyes fell on Yajing, and there was a softness that was difficult to detect. The data flow continues to roll, and the city's lights are flashing outside, and the story begins. The blue light in the experiment room became dim at 2 o'clock in the morning. Haoran rubbed his eyebrows and finally closed the reverse tracking procedure. Li Chang's wooden horse has been blocked, but the guy's IP track disappeared deep in the dark network like a ghost. Lao Wang and the team dispersed, leaving only him and Yajing to clean up the battle. The bitter taste of coffee remained in the air, and the faint burnt fragrance of electronic smoke was mixed, and Lao Wang took a sip before leaving. Haoran, rest. There will be a lot of things tomorrow. Yajing came a cup of warm water, and the sound was light and soft, like the night wind blowing across the lake. She removed her experiment robe, revealing her simple shirt, and her horse's tail was slightly dispersed, making it even more sensitive. Haoran took the water cup and glanced at her. The domineering habit made him want to say continue, but her eyes made him swallow it. You go first. I'll be keen all night. I'm alone in my heart, from small to old, I slept less and worked more. After my family passed away, this became my armor. Elegant and quiet, leaning against the work side. All night? The nightlife in City A is more than just a test room. I heard that the light show on the Haibian Highway is beautiful, don't you try it? She blinked and tried to make him laugh. Haoran hummed and snorted. Romantics? Okay, let you go tonight. Tomorrow, we will continue to integrate AI. Good night, elegant and quiet. She left her head, and her feet were rumbling in the corridor. Haoran stared at the door and moved her heart. She could always penetrate my defense. Maybe, it's time to learn to balance. The next morning, the sun shone like gold into Huaiyao building, and the car flow in City A buzzed under the building, like the city's fighting. Haoran did not sleep all night, and was full of energy. He convened a team, and the top-level meeting room was filled with engineers, and the blue map of AI integrated was jumped on the projection screen. Nanochips are stable, but fusion of them with the surgical analog is the real challenge. The freshly brewed coffee aroma is filled with the air, which is released from the automatic machine, making people sober. Speak, Haoran stood up, his voice as if he was hit by an iron. Mumba was a warning yesterday. Li Chang wanted to kill our first shot, and we couldn't give him a chance. Today, we will overcome AI integration. Yajing, you will lead the data input. Lao Wang, optimize the quantum module. Target, the success rate of the whole process simulation is more than 95%. Teams clicked, and the sound of the keyboard hitting fell like rain. Yajing Yun sat next to Haoran, dancing with her fingers on the tablet, and entered the model adjustments from last night. She said in a low voice, Haoran, the integration here is risky. When AI predicts, if the patient's physical changes are ignored, it will go wrong. Haoran pointed his head and activated his Goldfinger AI. On the screen, virtual surgery restart, light knife cutting, chip injection, and AI instant correction. But halfway through, the alarm came up, a small piece of code flashing, simulating the heart rhythm in microwave. Loophole! Old Wang shouted, his face turned pale. This is a hidden variable, I have never discovered it before. Haoran narrowed his eyes and was domineering. He was not panicked, and the AI gold fingers were scanned like flash, locking the problem within a few seconds. A leaking biological reflex circuit will amplify the error under high pressure. Simple. Switch to the rebirth as 7 and inject the elegant hormone module. He tapped his finger and regrouped the data. On the screen, the red light retreated, the simulation ended successfully, with a straightforward success rate of 97%. The team burst into tears. Lao Wang slapped the table. "President, your AI is simply a magical tool." The correction was too decisive. The engineers admired their eyes, and the conference room was as hot as a war scene. Haoran leaned back to the back of the chair and looked at the crowd. "This is not aura, it is preparation. Continue iteration and come out before the afternoon." His leadership power is like a magnet, condensing everyone. But when he turned his head and looked elegant and quiet, his eyes softened a little. She smiled and thought to herself, he is not only domineering, but also reliable. Such a man makes people want to get close. Afternoon, the research and development will take a break. Haoran rubbed his neck and came over calmly. "Haoran, don't be too stubborn. You won't go to the company dinner tonight?" She checked the schedule. This was Huayao's quarterly honor, the upper-class social cloud collection in the A-list, and the lights in the luxury hotel were brightly lit. Haoran's eyebrows. "Not interested. Those little bitch-hearted compensation, wasting time." Yasu pouted and pushed his shoulder. "Go! The team needs you to sweep the field." "I'll go too, as your assistant." Her lingerie was playing, trying to soften his ironstone heart. Haoran stared at her, her brain flashing past last night's conversation. Urban life is not just about work, he knows. But what does it mean to invite her? The domineering instinct surged, and he said directly, "Then you stay with me. 7 o'clock, see you in the hotel. We're a formal place." Yajing was stunned for a moment, her face slightly red. "Overbo's president mode? Okay, I'll go. But don't regret it." At 7 o'clock, the hotel in the city center A is as bright as a crystal palace, with golden lights under the crystal hanging lights, and the fragrant tower flows in the hands of the waiter. The guests wear ties in the West, the female companions wear clothes, and the luxury flavor of mixed perfume and cigars in the air. Haoran is dressed in a black suit, with a perfect sturdy appearance, and the atmosphere is as strong as a king. He looked at the venue and his elegant tranquility had arrived. His blue dress was wrapped in a delicate figure, his hair was plaited, revealing his elegant crocodile lines, like the blue stone at the night of the city. She approached and smiled. "Haoran, you've been there 5 minutes." Haoran raised his eyebrows and gave her a cup of fragrant rice. "Please accompany me to pay." The two walked towards the main table and greeted the guests. An investor, a fat middle-aged man, gave a cup. "General Hao, did you hear that Huayao's medical AI is going to go public? Congratulations." As the voice fell, a pointed female voice started to sound. In the corner, a woman in a red dress, the public relations manager of Li Chang's company, walked up with a wine glass, smiling hypocritical. "President Hao, congratulations. But those rumors on the internet, are they safe to deal with? Will they cause cancer after implantation? Investors can worry about it." The venue started to buzz, and guests talked about their private words. Yes silently felt Haoran's fists slightly clenched, and her heart tightened. This is Li Chang's move. The doubtful shadow spreads like a fog, making the air solemn. Haoran's face was blue and was about to open his mouth. He gently pulled his sleeves, intelligently up the line. She smiled and her voice was as clear as a bell. "Oh? Those words? It sounds like a rival's sour grape. Huayao's AI just simulates a 97% success rate, and an independent verification report will be released tomorrow. 'Cause of cancer? Then you have to ask President Li's laboratory, have you tried real guns instead of spreading rumors?" The meeting was silent for a moment, and then burst into laughter. The investor clapped. "The little girl said it right. President Hao, this assistant is so bad." The woman in red skirts had a red face and she was embarrassed to withdraw. Haoran turned his head and looked elegant and calm, sparks bursting in his eyes, the first time that communication was as hot as a summer night. His domineering outer shell broke apart, and a warm feeling surged in his heart. She was not only smart, but also brave. Winning people's hearts is never exhausted. After the dinner, the two sneaked out of the hotel. The night atmosphere in City A is cool, the street coffee shop lights are warm, and neon lights are reflected on the glass windows, like dreamy paintings. Yajing pulled Haoran into a small museum, with the corner booth hidden in private, and the air was filled with the rich coffee aroma, the mellowness of blue beans, and the roasted caramel flavor was mixed. The waiter brought 2 cups to the iron, and the milk was as soft as a cloud. I finally relaxed. Yajing took a sip, warming her heart. Haoran, you've been working so hard. At the dinner, that's true words. Lichang is really good. But we will win. Haoran leaned against the back of the chair, relaxed his head, and his domineering image faded slightly. He spreads his words and attacks his trust. Tomorrow, I will let the public fight back. But you, save the scene tonight. His eyes were deep, staring at her, as if exploring the unknown. Ye smiled calmly and slid her coffee spoon. A small matter. Haoran, what dreams do you have outside work? Apart from the tech empire. Haoran was stunned. Dreams? Since childhood, after his family passed away in a car, he has only left the path of medical technology. I feel solo, the hospital has no way to make things happen in that accident, so I vow to change everything. But it's too difficult to say that it's exported. Ye silenced his silence and said lightly, I have a dream. When I was a child, I wanted to open a shop that combines a coffee shop and a laboratory. Customers were drinking coffee and learning simple medical knowledge. It sounded stupid, but I wanted to make the tech people no longer feel cold. Her eyes were bright, and her face was red when she shared, like a girl who shared secrets. Haoran's heart is soft. This woman can always dig out his soft ribs. Not stupid. It's very interesting. I support you. Huayao has resources. When his dream is real, call me. His voice was low and he promised like a wire, deepening the Newport. Romance sprouts quietly grow in the aroma of coffee. You blinked quietly, really? What about you? Haoran, tell me, why is it so obsessed with medical treatment? It's not just a business. Haoran stared at the cup, silly. The growth turned into a fold, her gentleness, like a key opening and opening the seal. Childhood, family car, hospital equipment was behind, AI predictions were wrong. They left, I survived, and from this swears, medical care can no longer be a gambler. As he said, he felt lighter on his shoulders. Inner softening, in the past, I had pain hidden and moved forward domineeringly. But she let me face it. Or maybe, protection includes self-reliance. Yajing reached out to cover the back of his hand, feeling warm. Haoran, you have changed a lot. Don't carry it alone, let's go together. Her eyes were fixed and the sparks ignited again. Haoran held her hand, and the lights of the coffee shop reflected on the faces of the two people. Outside, the car flow in City A continues, and the shadow of the saying is there, but at this moment, the balance begins to appear, work and life, technology and heart. Lichang's attack was about to come like a storm, and it could not stop the deepening of this New York belt. The waiter looked far away, smiling silently, and the night in the city was endless. The sunlight spreads into the floor-to-ceiling windows of Huayao building like broken gold. The afternoon car flows in City A low under the building, like the breath of the city. The cafe's inventory was still left in Haoran's palm, and the moment his hand was as gentle as electric current, which made him sleepless for a night. Last night, he rarely left the laboratory early and said in a quiet voice, carry it together. He is as domineering as he is never dependent on others, but that feeling is, like a crack in the ice layer, revealing a hidden warm current. The top-level experiment room was extremely hot, and the data on the blue projection screen was like crazy. The team surrounded the console, the keyboard sounded mixed with low words, and the air was filled with the bitter aroma of fresh coffee, the Italian-style turbulence that was just bubbled by the automatic machine, and the steam rose, making the tired eyes clear. Lao Wang wiped his sweat and pointed to the screen excitedly, President, look. The success rate of integration between nanny chips and AI analogs has exceeded 95%. With the support of the elegant Horman module, the stability is doubled. He was staring at the head, his eyes swept over the crowd, and he had more look in his domineering spirit. He activated the Goldfinger AI, and the hand ring was slightly hot, and the virtual surgical model was restarted. The light knife cuts inaccurately, the chip injects blood vessels, and the AI predicts the path in real time without any deviation. Success! The room burst into tears, and the engineers sang their hands and watched as hot as a festival. It's very hard. Haoran patted Lao Wang's shoulder, his voice was low and inspiring. The last round of the afternoon iteration, the prototype will be online tomorrow. Huayao's medical revolution is right in front of him. Yajing raised her head after working hours, her tail swayed slightly, and her face was stained with a little ink printed. She looked at Haoran with a smile and thought to herself, he has changed. Last night's sharing made the two eyes softer. Haoran, your AI has made a big contribution to this breakthrough. But team cooperation is the key. Haoran turned to her with deep eyes. Yes, cooperation. He approached and said in a low voice, are you free at noon? Let's give me some greetings. It's not the meeting room, it's outside. Yajing was stunned for a moment, her face slightly red. He always has an iron face at work, and he didn't expect to take the initiative to invite him. Happy? It sounds good. But the prototype is still a little bit. The prototype is waiting for the afternoon. Haoran stopped and a rare smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. I will pick you up. The sea road is full of wind. The wind of city will make your brain refresh. She blinked, and the little deer in her heart rated. Romantic? It was said from the domineering president that it was unexpectedly intimidating. Okay. But don't open too fast, I'm not a racing driver. 2:00 in the afternoon, the lights of the underground car hut on Huayao building were dim and yellow, and the engine was roaring as if a wild beast was awake. Haoran's seat, a silver-gray luxury sport car, the flowing car is like an arrow, and the rubber smell of the last racetrack remains on the tire. He leaned against the door, his suit jacket was stripped off, and his shirt sleeves rolled up to reveal his strong forearm. Yajing walked out of the elevator and changed into a light white dress, wearing casual clothes and flat shoes, which were simple and dazzling. Go on the car. Haoran pulled the car door, and his action was like a prince in an old-school movie. Yajing sat in the leather seat, and the air filled the fragrance of leather in the car and the smell of ancient dragon water, making people's heart beat faster. The engine is full of birds, and the car is like a wild horse being driven out of the car, integrating into the afternoon car flow in City A. The sea road opens in front of you. Under the blue sky and white clouds, the waves sway the reefs, the wet sea breeze blows in from the semi-open windows, scattering the fragrance of the coffee shop far away, the small slurry on the road, carrying the sweetness. Haoran took a foot of oil door, and the speed of the car rose to 120, and the tires rubbed against the road and made a low buzz, which was as exciting as a mountain car. Catch the sturdy. Haoran glanced at her, his smile was domineering and gentle. Ya serenely held the handrail tightly, the wind blew her hair, screaming and burst into tears. Haoran. Are you catching the wind or racing? Slow down. He slowed down and turned into the special lane of the racing lane. His body was tilted and his G pressure made people lean back. The speedometer jumped to 180, and the scenery was like a scroll passing by, the sea was sparkling, the craft was flying far away, and the sound of the sea roar in the air mixed into the engine. This is freedom, elegance. At work, I am like a machine, but here I live. Haoran's voice increased, and the wind was filled with passion. Yajing turned to look at him, her face was strong and her eyes were flashing. She was conquered not speed, but the passion of ambition. Haoran, what is your ambition? It's not just medical care, right? Tell me. He took a deep breath, his car steady, and his straight line accelerated. Not only. Huayao wants to change the world and let medical AI enter thousands of homes. There are no more accidents like my family. After childhood, I carried it alone and built an empire domineeringly. But now, He put it on, his eyes soft. You changed me. I am no longer armor, elegant and quiet. With you, I will stick it. It's not an order, it's sharing. Yajing's heart warmed up and reached out to touch his arms. The growing turn blows away his haze as softly as the sea wind. She said in a low voice, Haoran, you are not alone. Let's protect that world together. The speed of the car increased, and they turned into the cafe and parked in the seaside. The sun is shining in the afternoon on the wooden table, and the aroma of coffee is spreading, freshly ground blue beans, hot and mixed with the smell of sea wind. The waiter served 2 cups of cappuccino. The heart-shaped pattern of milk foam was adorable. You sipped, sweet as honey. It's so beautiful here. Thank you, Haoran. This appointment will be perfect. Haoran stared at her and reached out to cover her palm. This time, it's not about holding it, it's about connecting your fingers. The touch feels warm and the sport beats simultaneously, like a heartbeat ensemble. Elegant, from the laboratory to here, you let me see balance. Love, let it be in crisis, but there should be such a moment. He approached and kissed the back of her hand. The romantic highlights burned like sunlight. Sweet and honest, elegant mobile phone vibrates. She glanced at her face slightly changed. Haoran, the test room alarm. The data is abnormal, and someone tried to get the prototype blue picture. It is suspected to be like a cloud cover. Haoran looked back with a domineering look. Lichang's hand. Go back to the company, now. The car quickly returned to the city, and the engine sounded like a roar. The experiment room has become a group, and Lao Wang rushed forward. President, the internal network has been invaded. The firewall has blocked most of it, but a small section of AI algorithm has been exposed. Following up, the source is Li Chang's subsidiary. Ye sits into the end, her eyes narrowed, and her fingers danced and scanned the diary. Wait, this is not a simple intrusion. Look here, the embedded tracker, and we are watching us. The sending interval is too regular, like a ghost cooperating. She enlarged the screen and a string of IP addresses were flashed. I noticed that the abnormality was because of last night's anti-tracking. Keyline, the intruder used the old version of Huayao employee card, scanned the record to point to a small staff member in the logistics department. Haoran smashed the table with his fist, and his voice was thunderous. Catch people. Lao Wang, block all the exits. Elegant and quiet, your genius felt that he saved us again. He was alone and briefly, her existence made the crisis change. I will no longer do it alone. The team moved quickly, and the security guards arrested the young man, a thin young man with a white face and sweating like rain. I don't know. Someone gave me money and asked me to plug in a U-disk, which is to say it was an upgrade software. Haoran approached and the air was under pressure. Who? Li Chang? The young worker shivered. Yes, he contacted himself and said that when Huayao was in trouble, he wanted to compete fairly. He gave me 100,000, saying that data can save people. Before the speech ended, the hall automatically slid open, and a middle-aged man with a squid in front of him walked in, sneering at the corner of his mouth. It was Li Chang, who was 50 years old, with gray hair, cunning eyes like foxes, and 2 protective lenses followed behind him. The air sets instantly, and the ticking sound of the coffee machine is harsh. Haoran, I haven't seen it for a long time. Li Chang clapped his hands, his voice smoothly. Do you hear you have any trouble? I'm here to help. Data removal? Too rough. My ambition is much greater. Medical AI. I should share, not your own empire. Join me. Huayao joins my alliance, otherwise, the market will not discriminate you. Haoran took a step forward and confronted him. The 2 people collided like sparks. The team retreated. Yajing gripped Haoran's arms tightly and said in a low voice, Don't urge. He is dragging the time. Sharing? Haoran sneered, with disdain in his domineering manner. Your ambition is to snatch. Li Chang, you sent me since college. Do you still want to flip the bill now? Crash it out, otherwise I will let the AI predict your next scene, destroying the industry. Li Chang's eyes were sunken and he slapped over the elegant and quiet. Interesting. Haoran, you have changed. Have you had a little assistant? Be careful, she will be your soft rib. He turned away, keeping up with the guard, and the sound of the door closed was like a slap. The hall relaxed, and Lao Wang said softly, "Baby, I finally showed up." But Haoran did not relax and turned to Yajing, "Your search is in time. Follow his IP, we will fight back." Elegant and calm, her eyes fixed, together. "Haoran, this is just the beginning. Li Chang's ambitions are more than just a few." The afternoon sunlight shone diagonally from the window, and the laboratory resumed and moved, but it was tight like a hidden net cover. Haoran looked at Yajing's back, and his heart swelled up with warmth. The sweetness of the wind turned into strength. Growing quietly, from a lonely wolf to a foster player. Outside, the neon lights in City A are bright, and the sea winds still leave the aroma of coffee, indicating that the storm is coming. The team worked overtime, and the data continued, with 2 people standing shoulder to shoulder, and the New York belt became tighter. The blue light in the experiment room has raised shadows in the sunny day, and the car flow in City A spreads out of the window to confusing buzz, like the city's low words. Haoran leaned against the console, and his fist still had the strength to smash the table. Li Qian's fox-like smile could not be removed like a shadow. Lao Wang wiped the sweat from the top, and the sound of the keyboard knocking continued, and the team's enthusiasm was caught in a basin of cold water by the confrontation just now. The fragrance of coffee is filled with the air, the automatic machine is just soaked, and the bitterness brings refreshing, making people nervous and focused. Continue to work. Haoran opened his mouth low and his voice smashed the silence like an iron. Li Chang wants to drag our back legs? Make a dream. Elegant and quiet, check the final round of integration. Lao Wang, monitor the firewall. Elegant and quiet, sitting at the end of her horse's tail swayed lightly, her eyes staring at the screen, and her fingers danced like a pianist. She felt Haoran's visual line occasionally swiping, and it was as hot as a touch, making her heartbeat slightly stuttered. Cooperation has become a daily routine, but yesterday afternoon's wind and moves sprouted like seeds in the heart, and the ignorant vines quietly surround. As the data flowed, Yajing suddenly burst into eyebrows and enlarged a neural interface module. Haoran, there is a problem here. AI predicts that although it is accurate, the long-term adaptability after implantation, if the patient has a different transformation, the chip will be overloaded. Why not add an auto-appropriate algorithm? Leveraging neuroplasticity, the chip can be learned like a brain. Haoran approached her, her shoulders touched her, and the smell of ancient woody dragon water mixed into the air, making her face slightly warm. He activated the Goldfinger AI, the hand ring was buzzing, and the screen was virtually simulated to start. The chip was injected into different human bodies, and the traditional algorithm alarm was flashed, but after the elegant idea was connected, the data was reorganized like a living thing, and the appropriate curve was smoothly raised, and the success rate increased to 99%. Verification pass. Lao Wang shouted, widening his eyes, "Yajing, this idea genius. We tried 10 variables, but we didn't expect plasticity." Haoran stood up and turned to the team, his voice loudly, "Speak, this is Huayao's spirit. The elegant and quiet innovation has enhanced the blindness of AI. She is not just an assistant, but a core brain. Applause her." A hot voice burst out in the room. The engineers looked enviously, and someone whispered, "The president has never spoken so publicly, so elegant and quiet." Lao Wang patted her on the shoulder, "Girl, you are so popular." Elegant and quiet smiled, her heart was like a fire, and the birds were pouring on it. "From now on, I was always behind the scenes. But Haoran's eyes made me feel, been seen. Not an employee, but a partner." She raised her head and faced his eyes. The soft light hidden in the domineering style made the ignorance even more sturdy. At the end of the work, it was already dark. Haoran closed the projection and rubbed his neck, "Spread. Be calm and stay. Let's go to that coffee shop. I haven't finished my sharing last night." Yajing's heart beat faster and kept up with her point. As night falls in City A, neon lights are like colorful ribbons on the high floor. They walked to the small coffee shop in the corner of the street, the warm light hidden in the alley. The wooden doors squeaked open, and the familiar blue bean fragrance comes over the noodles, smuggling with the caramel flavor of baked bread. The corner booth became their secret base, and the waiter familiarly served 2 cups of iron, milk foam heart-shaped pattern, and the heat was like a heart-shaped increase in thought. Here, it's like our shelter. Haoran sat down, relaxed his belt, and the domineering outer shell faded a few points. Li Chang's threat has been suppressed at once. But what about you? Yajing, what are you worried about after joining Huayao? Elegant and quiet coffee spoon, with soft eyes, things? Actually, I used to think that you only love things. Domineering president, the experiment room is all about you. But on the day of Dofeng, you shared your family. I found that you have soft ribs. Haoran, you let me see balance. Work is important, but what about life? Haoran stared at the cup of tea, and was silent and short-sighted in his heart. The past relationship was entirely due to my failure in career. My girlfriend said I was like a machine, cold and cold. Can't repeat it. She is different. The growth of the turn is like the bitterness of coffee, reminding him to change. You're right. I've missed love because I'm afraid of distractions. But now, tranquil, you make me reflect. Keeping technology is also keeping people, especially you. I'm determined to treat it sincerely and not let everything be swallowed up. You blinked her eyes and her face was as red as Xiang. Haoran, is this confession? He reached out to cover the back of her hand, and warmly synchronized, born. From cooperation to now, I want to know more about you. Tell me, your dream, what's going on in that coffee laboratory? She smiled and shared. Imagine that the customer drank coffee to learn about his mind and knowledge, and the chip was implanted to track health. Romantic and practical. But Li Jing was eyeing Huayao, and I was afraid of dragging you down. As the voice fell, her phone vibrated, an anonymous email popped up. The attachment was her background investigation report from university results to old company records, and the notes were marked popular threats, suggest monitoring. The sender's IP is hidden, but the tail points to Li Chang's subsidiary. What the hell? Yajing's face turned pale and pushed it to Haoran. Li Chang, to me? Because of my idea? Haoran narrowed his eyes and was domineering. He grabbed the phone, and the AI gold finger immediately scanned it, locking the source. Don't die, he bought a ghost. A small data leak started with your counter-tracking last night. The report shows that the blue image of the experiment interface leaked 5%, but your personal file, he wants to dig your dark history and leave us. The lights of the coffee shop reflected on his face, and the shadows shone the suspicious Zhangli. You was worried and panicked. Haoran, I have no secret history. But if he spreads rumors? Don't be afraid. Haoran shook her hand tightly, and his voice was like a swearing, I protect you. Domineering point, from now on, your security has a specialist. Huayao's lawyer team will sue him for violating privacy tomorrow. Li Chang wants to play with him? I will regret it. His eyes were fixed, and his desire to protect him is like a torch, igniting the flames of the song. Yajing felt light on her shoulders and leaned towards him. Thank you. You are always so reliable. The investigation of the ghost was quickly unfolded. Lao Wang called and said, President, I found out. The logistics boy was given 200,000 by Li Zheng, and he was the last one to monitor the elegant and quiet end. The little ejaculation has been repaired, but Li Zheng has obtained some AI-suited algorithms. Haoran snorted coldly, catch him and remove him. Yajing, we will fight back. Your idea is a weapon, use it to crush him. Late at night, they left the cafe, and the vague warmth remained like the wind of the sea. Haoran drove her home, and the street lights in city were growing up. As the engine growled, he whispered, dinner, tomorrow. I booked a seat, a romantic point. It's not compensation, it's us. Elegant and quiet, my heart is as sweet as honey, okay. But don't be too formal, I'm afraid I can't keep up with your rhythm. The next night, the lights of the most luxurious French restaurant in city were like a galaxy, and the crystal cup refracted the fire. the oak aroma of red wine in the air and the crispy smell of roasted ducks. Elegant and quiet, wearing a pure pink suit, sitting elegantly, Haoran was already waiting, a bottle of Burgundy opened, and the deep red wine was covered like blood. "Cheer, it's your courage." Haoran held the cup with affectionate eyes. "Today, the ghost tricked him. Li Chang thought that you could mess with us with your feet. Error. He only accelerated our approach." I sipped the wine in a calm manner, and the fragrance of the wine slipped through my throat and warmed my heart. "But the mistake will still be there," she said softly. "Haoran, I think you only love business. Like the past news, your ex-girlfriend said you were cold-blooded and first in work. After joining Huayao, I was afraid of repeating it, just an assistant, and then being knocked out." Haoran put down the cup, reached out to scrub her fingers, and felt like a silk thread. "Is it wrong? In the past, I was. The relationship failed because I took Huayao to life and ignored her. But you are different, elegant, and quiet. The day you walked into the laboratory, I changed me. Not an assistant, a partner, and the person who moved me. Protecting you today is not a duty, but a sincerity. I swear that I will balance my career and love. Protecting you is like protecting your dreams." His words were like a lovely confession, his elegant eyes were moist, and his inner heart was, he changed, from domineering to gentleness. The evidence of growth made her lean forward. "Haoran, I believe in you. Let's face Li Chang together and write this song." The light shook and the waiter retreated far away. Haoran approached and kissed her head gently, warm as a promise. "From today, you are mine. The cafe is the base, the laboratory is the battlefield. Love is released in crisis." After dinner, they strolled along the river, with neon lights reflected in the water in City A and the fragrance of the scented coffee shop far away. Li Chang's threat was like an undercurrent, but the two people's hands were firmly held, which was ambiguous. Haoran felt at heart, "I was taught by the failure of the past, and the true heart is strength. An elegant smile makes the future brighter." The river is gurgling, the night in the city continues, and the storm is coming, and I can't hold back the rhythm of my heartbeat. The river in City A lightly slaps the embankment in the night, the neon lights fall like confetti falling on the water, Haoran and elegant palms are tightly clasped, and the warm touch is like an invisible oath, continuing the warmth of dinner. The fragrance of the far-flung coffee shop is surrounded by the fragrance, and the faint smell of blue beans make the romance at this moment more vivid. Yajing leaned on his shoulder and said in a low voice, "Haoran, tomorrow's test stage begins. Li Chang's shadow is still there, and I'm a little worried." Haoran lowered his head and kissed her hair, his voice as deep as a wave. "Don't be afraid with me. Our AI medical system will make him regret it." An unprecedented determination came to his heart. He always carried the storm on his own, but now, this kind of thing has made him feel that his strength has increased. The two of them walked along the river, and the city's movements and heartbeats were synchronized. They were not separated until they were sent to her home. The next morning, the rooftop experiment room on Huayao building was bathed in golden sunlight, the blue projection screen was moving like a living creature, and the data flowed like a river bank. The test phase officially started. The prototype of the nanochip and AI analogs is finally online, which is a key step in the medical revolution. The team was surrounded by the central console. Lao Wang wiped his sweat and adjusted the instrument excitedly. The air was filled with the clear smell of disinfectant, and the aroma of freshly brewed coffee. The Italian-style turbulence brought from the coffee bar under the floor, making everyone's spirits rise. "President, everything is gone. The first round test, simulate the implantation of high-risk hearts." Lao Wang knocked on the keyboard, and the virtual human model appeared, and the blood vessels meandered like a blue river. He pointed his head and looked at the crowd with domineering spirit. "Start. Remember, this is not just the data, it is the future." He put on his hand ring, and the AI gold fingers quietly started, and the invisible skin locked every variable like a horned eye. Yajing stood beside him. Under the experiment robe was a simple shirt, with hair tilted into horsetails, and her eyes were full of expectations. She said in a low voice, "Haoran, the patient's simulation is acute myocardial infarction, which varies a lot. Your prediction will be the key." Test start. The light knife cuts into the virtual chest cavity, and the nanochips are injected like miniature flying boats, and AI can instantly correct the path. But halfway through, the screen is flashed a warning. The heart rhythm is violently waving, the chip begins to repel slightly, and the data curve is like a tree branch in the wild wind. Lao Wang's face turned pale. Do you have to die? This is a hidden variable. I have never imagined it before. If I really get a patient, something big will happen. The team buzzed and the air was as heavy as a wall. Haoran was not panicked, his eyes narrowed and his fingers knocked his hands gently. The AI gold fingers move, and the blue light flashes in the brain, and thousands of situations are predicted like flash. The source of repulsion is a weak immune response, touching the chip's self-responsive path. He sneered, simple. Switch the reticulum B9, inject 0.5 dose of immunosuppressive enzymes, and optimize the quantum frequency to 7.2 GHz. His instructions were like a god, and the team operated at a speed. The red light on the screen retreated, and the curve was smoothly rolled up. The chip is implanted stably, and the heart simulation restores the rhythm, with a straightforward success rate of 99.5%. The room burst into tears. Lao Wang slapped the table and shouted, "President, your AI is simply a prophet. We were stuck for half an hour, you can get it done in 3 seconds." The engineers looked admiring, and someone whispered, "The genius among geniuses, Huayao has him, and there is no enemy." Haoran leaned back to the console, looked at the crowd, and looked at the domineering person, showing his appearance. This is the team's victory. But risk prediction is my responsibility. Continue to the next round. Yajing turned to look at him, her eyes filled with starlight of worship, like the silver river in the night sky, warming Haoran's heart. Insider, I have passed away. In the past, this kind of praise only came from data. But her eyes made me feel complete. Growing quietly, from an arrogant genius to enjoying the satisfaction of being needed. He patted her on the shoulder lightly and said in a low voice, "Your support will make me more accurate." The test was successfully pushed in, and during the afternoon nap, Haoran pulled Yajing out of the building. "Come on, Breeze. Don't let your brain get hurt in the gap." He blinked, and his words were domineering and drowning. Yes smiled quietly and thought to herself, he has changed, from iron-faced to stealing. In the underground car, the gray sporting car engine growled, and the sea road opened in the afternoon sun. Haoran's oil door was soaked in, and the wind was pouring in from the car window, shaking the smell of the scattered waves and the aroma of coffee from the far away. The irons soaked in the small museum on the roadside, bringing the sweetness to make the air romantic. Ya serenely held the handrail tightly, her hair flew, and shouted excitedly, "Haoran, slow down." "But, it's so exciting." He slowed down, turned into the straight line, looking at her from the side. "Yajing, did you still want to go to the riverside last night? We are not just friends." His voice was low and his eyes were as affectionate as the sea. Elegant and calm face, pointing, "I think." But Li Chang's threat. Before the speech finished, the phone vibrated. An anonymous message pops up. The photo is elegant and quiet door, marked "Be careful, otherwise your dream coffee experience room will always be just a dream." The sender is unknown, but the tail points to Li Chang. Yajing's face turned pale. He has his eyes on me? "Haoran, this is a threat." Haoran stepped on the car and parked on the viewing platform on the seaside. The waves hit the shore like drums. He turned around and held her hand, and the domineering line, "Li Chang's slander has surfaced. He thought he could just scare you and get us off. Make a dream." But Yajingu did not retreat. She took a deep breath and her eyes were determined. "Haoran, I'm not afraid. From the day I joined Huayao, I knew that innovation was risky. But with you, I dare to face it. Tell him, we won't retreat. Medical AI is to save people, not his toy." Her courage is like a torch, illuminating the mighty heart. Growth has turned. Yajing is no longer a gentle assistant, but a warrior-like support, which has transformed him from a domineering protector to an equal warrior. He approached her and his head pressed against her. "Elegant, you let me see that true love is power." From now on, we are people. Fight together. As he fell, he kissed her lips lightly, sweet as honey, and the aroma of coffee was blown out from the air in the car, mixing the sea, and romantic highlights were like waves. Elegantly responded, his neck was on both arms, and his inner snail. Finally, the relationship was rising. This kiss is not only hot, but also promise. After the wind was over, they rushed back to the laboratory. The test entered the physical stage in the afternoon. The prototype machine was used to real biological standards, a silicone model that simulated the heart, injected into nanochips. The team held their breath, the blue light flashed, everything went smoothly. But suddenly, the console is crazy. The instrument panel was smoked and sparked, the chip injection pipeline broke, and the data collapsed. The smoke was flooded, and the smell of disinfectant mixed with burnt electric air. Lao Wang rushed forward and sniffed a low fire. Accident. The equipment was damaged. What's going on? There is no warning in the firewall. Haoran's face was blue and he checked the dead. It's not a natural fault. Look here, the pipeline has a preset point, like a remote control explosion. You should die, Li Chang. Suspiciously turned like an explosion. This is a fake accident. The damage he created is intended to be a trauma test, which makes Huayao miss the listing window. The team was in trouble, and the engineers were talking about each other. Someone whispered, the prototype has been destroyed, it will be repaired for at least 1 week. Did Li win? Yajing was not panicked. She knelt on the ground, lifting up the cracked pipes, narrowing her eyes to scan the internal structure. Touching the circuit board with your fingers, flying inside. When I was in the old company, I repaired similar equipment. You can't disappoint Haoran. Haoran, let me try. The pipeline is self-sufficient alloy, and I have a way to weld it. Borrow your AI to scan the blue picture. Haoran was stunned. Domineering instincts wanted to say danger, but her eyes were fixed, making him point, be careful. Team, give her space. Yajing put on protective gloves and operated the welding gun. When the spark was flying, she followed AI projection to repair the point of breaking, first clean the oxidation layer, then inject biocompatible glue, and accurately connect the circuit. Sweat slipped off her slim head, and the experiment robe was covered with dust, but the movements were as smooth as a dancer. 10 minutes later, the pipeline was reorganized and the prototype was revived. Test restart, chips are injected smoothly, and data is perfect. The team burst into tears, and Lao Wang glared, Yajing, you are the savior. This cultivation is professional. Haoran stepped forward, helped her up, wiped away the ashes on her face, his eyes filled with emotion. Yajing, you prove yourself. Not only your brain, but also your movement. I have never been so proud. He felt warm in his heart, her courage makes me follow it. Deepening of growth, it is no longer just a single fight, but a common progress. Yajing smiled breathlessly, Haoran, let's go together. I promise me that the future will not only be technology, but also our coffee laboratory. He pointed at her and hurriedly said, I promise. No matter how much Li Chang is in danger, our future will be destroyed. In the romance, the crisis deepened. The mobile phone was shocked again, a message, Li Chang's voice, Haoran, the game has just begun. The surgery room is waiting for you. Suspicion is like a dark tide, the blue light continues to flash, the team revives, and the story pushes to a climax. Outside, the sunset in City A is setting, and the sea wind brings the aroma of coffee, indicating the arrival of storms. The night in City A is as heavy as ink, the lights on the roof of Huayao building are brightly lit, and the data of the accident just left on the blue light projection screen, like an unfinished nightmare. After the smoke was dissipated, the air was filled with burnt electric smell, which sucked the pungent disinfectant, making people unable to breathe. Lao Wang and the team were surrounded by the prototype machine, their faces were blue, and someone whispered a curse, Li Chang, this bastard, is the remote control explosion? This is a terrifying attack. Haoran stood in front of the console, his fists tightly clenched, and the engine temperature of the silver-gray sport car remained in his brain, but now, the sweetness has been replaced by anger. He turned to Yajing. She was squatting on the ground to check the cracked pipe, and the fine beads of sweat on the top were flashing under the blue light. Elegant and quiet, don't touch it. Maybe there's still something to worry about. His voice was low, and his domineering feeling was filled with worry, like a warm current wrapped in winter wind. Yajing Yun raised her head, wiped the dust on her hands, and her eyes were determined. Haoran, it's okay. I've repaired similar equipment. This is not a simple malfunction. Look here, there is a miniature remote control on the inner wall of the pipeline, and the signal frequency is quantum encryption specially used by Li Chang's company. It was exposed, and his black hand finally appeared. She stood up, her shoulders touched his arm, and the familiar jasmine fragrance made Haoran feel tight. From the day I bought the wind, this fragrance became his reassurance. Lao Wang approached and widened his eyes. Quantum encryption? Oh my god, this must be fucked by internal experts. President, we have to call the police. Haoran slammed his head and his eyes narrowed like a keel. Ask. Too slow. Li Chang wants to mess with us. Miss the listing window? To do a dream. Repair the prototype first and go to the hospital tomorrow. There's cooperation at the Central Hospital of Downtown A, and we will do a real simulation test there. Yajing, come with me. Team, block the scene, and follow the source of the signal. Late at night, Haoran drove Yajing home. The gray sport car roared on the neon street, the sea breeze poured in from the car window, and the blue bean fragrance of the far-floor coffee shop, making people recall that afternoon. Yajing leaned on the seat, closed her eyes and said, Haoran, do you remember the wind? The waves on the sea, when you kissed me, the world seemed to stop. It was as sweet as a dream. Now, this crisis is so cool. Haoran glanced at her, reached out to hold her, his fingertips were as warm as promises. I remember. The wind blew your hair and you smiled like a child. At that moment, I thought there was a paradise outside of technology. But Li Chang couldn't destroy us. That kiss was my friend. At the speed of the car, he was flashing his own shadow. In the past, I always carried it by AI. But now, with her, I can't be arrogant anymore. The growing meowing quietly grew up, and he said lightly, Yajing, tomorrow's surgery room, you will help me watch the variables. She pointed and smiled, face together. Love you, Haoran. This was the first time she expressed her words bluntly, and the simple 3 words melted his iron shell like a warm current. The next morning, the surgery room building of the Central Hospital in the city, it was like a silver castle. The glass curtain wall reflected the sunlight, the air was filled with the clear smell of disinfectant, and the Italian-style scent of the remote coffee bar. The automatic sales engine of the hospital hall was just soaked, refreshing, and carrying a hidden tightness. Haoran and Yajing went through the inspection, changed into a sterile robe, and opened the surgery room. The indoor light is as dazzling as white, and the central surgery platform is flashing with a holographic projection. The doctor team is already in place, the chief surgeon Professor Chen, with a gray hair and a sharp look like a knife. General Hao, miss ya. Is the prototype ready? Professor Chen put on gloves and his voice was low. This is the first real simulation test. The patient is a willful man, a 50-year-old man in his late stage of heart disease. Your AI prediction system can help us avoid risks. With a strong head, he swept the room with a domineering spirit. Unfortunate. Nanochip implantation, AI monitors instantly. Elegant, monitors biological response. Lao Wang, remote support. The team was in place, the air was as heavy as a driver, and the sound of the monitor was as clear as a heartbeat. The willful person lies on the stage, his face turned white after anesthesia, and the oxygen mask is foggy. The test begins. Professor Chen cut his chest with a knife, and the smell of blood spread instantly, and the blood vessels were exposed like blue rivers under the light. Haoran put on the hand ring, the AI gold finger activated, and the virtual projection plug was added to the reality. The path prediction is as green light guided, injected into the chip, from the entrance of the left ventricle, with a depth of 3.2 centimeters. Yajing stared at the screen, and her fingers flew into the hormone module, still stable, normal heart rhythm. Immune reaction is 0.1%, no repulsion. Everything goes smoothly, the chips slide in like miniature satellites, and AI instantly corrects the frequency. Professor Chen yelled in a low voice, "Perfect implantation. How, your system is amazing." The room relaxed, and his elegant and calm smiled at Haoran, with a proud look in his eyes. "Haoran, we did it." But just as the chip was stable, the monitor suddenly became crazy. The screen is flashing, data collapses like an avalanche, heart rhythm plummets, chip paths are twisted, the curves are like being interfered by magnetic fields. Professor Chen's face turned pale. "What's the ghost?" "Rejection reaction." "Impossible, the prediction is 99%. The room was in a mess, and the nurse rushed forward to apply stability agent. The oxygen pump hummed and the bloody smell became more intense, mixing sweat and panic breath. "Li Chang!" Haoran growled, staring at the projection. AI gold finger flying speed scan, abnormal source head external electromagnetic impulse, frequency matching Li Chang's black market equipment. The upgrade is not a simple invasion, but a remote interference, which intends to make the test fail and even endanger the patient's lives. The willful person's chest twitched, and the monitoring curve was like a storm. Professor Chen shouted, "Stop the heartbeat." Preparation for the removal device. The tightness of the throat of everyone is tightened. Yajing's face turned white and grabbed Haoran's arms. "Haoran, the chip is loading. If it burst..." Haoran was not panicked, and his domineering leadership was like an iron wall exploded. He pushed the crowd and stood on the surgical platform, and his voice pointed like thunder, "Professor Chen, stop the knife. Lao Wang, cut off the external signal tower of the hospital, and block the source. Elegant, input the self-appropriate algorithm, and strengthen the restart of the chip." His eyes were like lasers, and the AI was moving, and the change in the brain flashed. It interfered with the quantum smuggled, causing the path to shift by 0.7 degrees. Reverse rotation scheme, reverse electromagnetic shielding, inject 0.3 dose of stable enzyme, and route from the backup port. AI, predict the way. Haoran knocked on the hand ring, projected the green light reassembly, and passed the interference area and went straight to the ventricle. Professor Chen was stunned, but followed, "Speak loudly. Roll inject." The team was moving at a speed, and his fingers were shaking accurately. He entered the command, "Enzyme injection, frequency is locked at 7.2 GHz. In the bloody state, the chip path was corrected, the curve was stable, and the heartbeat revulsed. The sound changed from erratic to clear rhythm. Success. The room burst into tears, and Professor Chen wiped his sweat. "General Hao, you saved this life." The reversal was too fast. The pleasure is like an orgasm, and Haoran's cold and calming fingers make the team admire their eyes as if they were tied. But just in the midst of the wave, the original twist and turns suddenly appeared. When Yajing entered the last command, her arm rubbed the wire end of the surgical table. The small spark that was just triggering was still there, and the current was over. She screamed, and she stepped back and fell to the ground. Her arms were burned with red kidneys, her skin was blistered, and her face turned pale because of the pain. Yes, silence. Haoran's heart was like a knife, and he rushed forward and picked her up, and the domineering outer shell instantly broke. The guilt came like a flood. If I hadn't dragged it to the hospital myself, she wouldn't have been hurt. He tore open her sleeves and checked the wound, and his voice trembled. "Hold on. Guard, first aid kit." Yajing bit her lip in pain, but her eyes were calm, and she grabbed his hand. "Haoran, I love you. Only in crisis can I know how important you are. Don't be responsible, let's go together." Her expression was like an arrow hitting the central mortar. Haoran's eyes were wet, turning from his own to his partner's growth and turning like a flash. He was so simple and unrestrained. In the past, I thought AI was poor and people were burdened. But she, forcing me to see that love is the source of strength. "Yajing, thank you. I will rely on you and will not do it alone." He kissed her head gently, and the warm water slid down, and the depth of emotion deepened like the sea. Professor Chen handled the wound and said softly after taking it out, "I'm injured and take a week off." But how, this interference, was definitely intentional. The patient was stable, but we have to investigate. Haoran hugged elegantly and left the surgery room. The lights in the hospital corridor were soft, and the fragrance of the coffee bar drifted from the elevator, like a sweet memory far away. He growled, "Li Chang, I remember this hatred. Vow to report, not just business, I want him to pay for you." Yajing leaned in him and smiled weakly. "Haoran, together. The sweetness of the wind, wait until we win, and continue." The team was waiting outside, and Lao Wang stepped forward. "President, the source of the signal has been locked. Li Chang's laboratory, will we fight back tomorrow?" Haoran pointed his head, his eyes were like fire. "Prepare. The surgery room crisis is just the beginning." The hospital's bell knocked, and the neon lights of city rolled in from outside the window, suspected to be like a dark tide. The love between the two people became even stronger in the tension, indicating that a greater storm was coming. The lights in the hospital corridor were soft and dazzling. Haoran sat on the bench with Yajing in her arms, her head leaned against his shoulder, her covered arms were insidiously painful, the air was filled with the clear smell of disinfectant, and the Italian-style scent of the remote coffee bar, the hot air, flying from the elevator entrance, like a sweet memory far away. Lao Wang and several engineers were waiting outside, their faces were blue, and the monitoring officers' remaining troubles were still buzzing around their ears. Professor Chen patted Haoran on the shoulder. "General Hao, the patient is stable. Mrs. injury is not serious. It's better to take a slight microphone to take care of it for 2 days. But that interference is definitely a deliberate crime. Please call the police." Haoran slams his head, his eyes narrowed like a keel, and his domineering aura is like an invisible pressure cap covering the surroundings. "The police are too slow. Li Chang wants to play with fire, so I will let him turn into ashes." He looked down at the calmness, her face was white and smiled, and grabbed his hand. "Haoran, don't urge. We have evidence, starting from the source of the signal." Lao Wang approached and said in a low voice, "President, I just followed the IP tail. Li Chang's laboratory is in the suburban industrial area, and the matching degree of quantum encryptor is 95%. But, the internal network has a lot of traces, like our people helping us." Haoran's heart sank, and his heart was as white as a knife. "Wu Ji." There were cracks in Huayao's fortress. "Technology is my weapon, but human beings are weak." He pointed, "Go back to the company. All the staff are on standby. Yajing, come with me and deal with the injuries first." The silver-gray sport was rushing in the afternoon car flow in City A. The engine was roaring like an angry beast. The sea breeze poured in from the window, smearing the smell of scent and the scent of coffee on the road, which made the elegant and quiet pain slightly relieved. She leaned against the seat and said in a low voice, "Haoran, at that moment in the surgery room, I thought it was over. Your AI saved the patient, but if it weren't for me to input the algorithm, we would have almost." "Don't say it." Haoran reached out to cover her knees, feeling warm and refreshed. "You saved me. Not only the number, your courage." As the speed of the car, he glanced at her, and the domineering look faded away a few points, and there was a softness. The growing meowing quietly. "In the past, I relied on AI to predict everything and viewed people as variables. But she let me see that love is a blind spot and also a power." In the conference room on the top floor of Huayao Building, the blue projection screen opens like a war scene, and the data flows like crazy. The team sat in the air was solemn, and the automatic coffee machine ticked to soak the black coffee, the bitter fragrance spread, refreshing and suppressing. Lao Wang knocked on the keyboard. "President, look here." The head of the surgery room's interference, Li Chang's black market electromagnetic circuit, frequency locking our quantum module. The verification link is complete, from the inner GhostU disk to the remote control signal, it is recorded in full. Haoran stood up, his fist hit the table, and the sound was thunderous. "Play. Live broadcast of the whole company. This is not a little trouble, it is a war." He activated the AI gold fingers, his hands were buzzing, and the surgery room crisis reappeared on the screen, red light flashes, heart rhythm collapses. The moment when he fell to the ground was like a slow lens, blood and sparks intersecting. Then, follow the animation exhibition. The urging signal was released from Li Chang's laboratory, penetrated the hospital firewall, and directly hit the prototype. IP address, encryption code, and even Li Chang's voice file burning them and making medical AI mine is out of sight. Outside the conference room, all Huayao employees watched through the internal network, and the discussions were buzzing. Haoran opened his mouth. His domineering style was as good as an iron, and his words were like iron knocking on everyone's heart. College, Li Chang not only fetched data, but also tried to kill people in the surgery room. This is his little harp, it was exposed. He thought we would withdraw? Error. Huayao's AI is not a toy, but a life-saving tool. Today, I publish these evidences. His instrument is illegal, and the ghost has been arrested. Who dares to be with Li Chang? We will kill him together. On the screen, the certificate is like an avalanche. Li Chang's company financial records show huge black market transactions. Insider confesses lyrics. The thin employee cried, "President Li gives money, let me implant a remote control." The staff roared, and someone slapped the table, "Support the president." Li Chang swept the egg. Lao Wang shouted, "Huayao is invincible." The whole building was like a boiling tide, his palms were thunderous, and the team supported him like a steel. It was exciting and exciting. Haoran's leadership power came like a king, winning the whole scene. From a crisis, Huayao became even more united. But the original reversal emerged. In the AI scan, a hidden diary emerged, more than one ghost inside. According to the follow-up, Xiao Lu, deputy manager of the R&D department, visited Li Chang's IP last night and transferred some of the self-appropriate algorithms. Lao Wang glared, "Little Lu? That boy is usually humble. Who knows he is Li Chang's internal ally?" Haoran's face was blue and domineering. "Catch him. Security, now." Xiao Lu was taken to the meeting room, his face turned pale and sweated like rain. "President, I'm forced to do anything. Li Chang knew that I owe the debt and threatened my family." "Hard force?" Haoran approached, his eyes like a knife. "Your transfer record has 500,000 to Li Chang's account." "Who else?" Xiao Lu collapsed and recruited 2 logistics juniors, just they. "Li Chang sooner shares, let us spread rumors and test them." Haoran sneered, it was cleared out. It was completely removed and handed over to the police. "Huayao, no traitors are allowed." He snatched his hand, the security guard dragged the little Lu away, the team's eyes were calm, and Lao Wang said in a low voice, "President, it's clean. We are stronger." The internal cleaning is like a skeleton, the team is raising China, and the crisis turns into power. In the afternoon, Haoran closed the live broadcast, rubbed the sun's acupoint, and turned toward the silence. She sat in the corner, Baowu's arms trembled slightly, her face was white and her eyes were bright. "Haoran, you handled it perfectly. But my verdict?" At the moment in the surgery room, I saw the frequency code of the irrigation source, which was recorded in the brain. Enter it to the AI to lock Li Chang's equipment location. Haoran felt warm and stepped forward to help her get up. "Let's go, rest first. Let's get the words back. That coffee shop, go and have a sweetheart." He was domineering and drowning, like a sage in the old Shanghai alley, gently sucking her back. In the corner of the cafe, the wooden doors are creaking and pushed open, the familiar blue bean-flavored noodles, and the caramel flavor of mixed baking bread. The corner booth is private, the waiter serves 2 cups of iron, milk foam heart-shaped pattern, the hot game is like a worry-taking thing. Yajing sat down, took off her coat, carefully avoided her wounds, took a sip of coffee, and the warm current slid over her throat. "Haoran, this is like our secret base. The wind, the seaside kiss, the sweetness is still there, even though it is full of danger." Haoran sat opposite her, held her hand, and fought warmly and simultaneously. "Can the silence be opened? In the future, I will not let you carry it alone. When you fall down in the surgery room, my heart is like a knife. Technology is impossible, and AI cannot predict your courage." He put it on, his eyes are affectionate, and his growth turns like a tide. "In the past, I thought that domineering could protect everything. but you taught me that love is the source of strength. Without you, Huayao is just an empty shell. I rely on you and no longer bear it. Yajing's eyes were moist, and her heart was full of blood. He changed, from iron to flesh and blood. She smiled and provided the key verb. The frequency code is 7.2 GHz, with Li Chang's company watermark. I remember clearly that by entering AI, he can expose his full set of equipment. She approached and said in a low voice, Haoran, I love you. In crisis, the love that is displayed is even more certain. Whether Li Chang is too scared, we will be together. Haoran pointed his head and kissed her lips slightly. It was as sweet as honey, and the aroma of coffee was lingering. Romance was like flowers in crisis. The pleasure is like a fire, her verdict is like a Philistine, his emotional confession deepens, the mistakes will dissipate as much, and the love is as firm as steel. The two people held hands and shared the future. I won Li Chang, we opened that coffee laboratory. Drink coffee and save people. But sweet and short, the phone vibrating breaks the tranquility. An anonymous message pops up. The photo is elegant and quiet door, with the caption be careful, beauty. The surgery room is just an appetizer, I will come to you next time. The sender's IP is hidden, but the AI skin shows that Li Chang's handwriting is revealed. Yajing's face turned pale. He threatens me with safety? Haoran smashed the table with his fist and replied with a domineering voice, do you die, you'll be rebellious. Li Chang thought that if you scare you, you can be troubled. Make a dream. He activated the AI immediately and locked the source of the message, the suburbs of the city, his hiding point. Elegant, from now on, you live in the top apartment in the company, and I will send a protective cover. The atmosphere in the surgery room will be heavier. The next test, if he dares to come again, we will end him. He leaned towards him in a quiet and said, Haoran, together. The threat only makes us tighter. Outside the cafe, the neon lights in City were bright, and the smell of the scent of the sea wind was suspected to be like a dark tide. Haoran's heart is determined. Love tempers me, from a technology madman to a warrior with companionship. Li Chang's shadow deepened. The sound of the surgery room showed a big crisis. The team's steps rose under the floor, and the story pushed to the center of the storm. The night wind in City A blows in from the wooden doors of the coffee shop, scattering the fragrance of blue beans and the neon lights on the streets. Haoran's mobile phone is still in his palm, and the threatening message lies in his brain like a poisonous snake. He stared at the screen, and the AI gold finger had locked the source, the suburbs of the city, Li Chang's hiding point. Yajing leaned against him, and the bag on his arm was intimidatingly painful, and she smiled strongly. Haoran, don't let him feel bad. The threat is just a false voice, we have evidence. Haoran turned off his phone and held her hand tightly, and the warm touch felt as firm as an iron chain. Did Zhang Shen? Li Chang is so big this time. He is eyeing you, just hitting me in the limbs. But from now on, you are my lifeblood, and I won't let him touch a finger. His voice was low and domineering, like the Godfather in the old Shanghai Black Helper, with unprecedented gentleness. I have been alone in my heart. In the past, I used technology as a shield and felt the burden of affection. But the elegant and tranquil courage made me understand that protecting love is truly maturity. From being a genius to a man who stormed her wind and rain, this turn is as irreversible as the waves. The two left the cafe and drove toward Huayao building with their car engines. The top-level apartment has been laid out, and the police station is at the door. Lao Wang called, President, the next real surgical test will be tomorrow. In the central hospital of A, the patient is a young mother with a serious heart valve. Professor Chen said that this is Huayao AI's debut and there can be no trouble. But Li Chang's instrument, we have added a shielded module. Shielded. Haoran shuts down the phone and turns to Yajing, you live here, I will accompany you tonight. I will monitor it tomorrow in the surgery room. Your idea, the self-suited algorithm, will be the key. Yajing is pointed, leaning against him, the jasmine fragrance spreads, like the harsh rain before Nanjing. Late at night, the two of them fell asleep together, and the neon lights of the city rolled in from outside the window, and the doubtful shadow quietly stretched. The next morning, the sunlight entered the hospital building like broken gold. The clearness of the mixed disinfectant water in the air and the bitter fragrance of the coffee bar, the automatic machine at the nurse station just soaked the iron, making the tight team look a little calm. Haoran and Yajing changed into sterile robes and opened the surgical room. The lights were as dazzling as white. The instruments around the central surgical platform were buzzing. Professor Chen and the doctor team were already in place. The patient, a mother in her 30s, lying on the stage, her face turned pale after anesthesia, and her oxygen mask was foggy. Her son next to her was pacing anxiously next to the observation room. "General Hao, miss ya. The prototype connection is ready." Professor Chen put on gloves and his voice was as low as a war drum. "This time it's a real gun, valve repair, and nanochip implantation. Your AI prediction system has an estimated success rate of 98%. But remember, every change. I have the variables." Haoran stood in front of the console, activated the AI gold finger with his hand, and added a blue light projection on the surgical platform, virtually swaying blood vessels like rivers. He glanced at Ya's quiet eyes, his eyes filled with tacit understanding. "You monitor biological reactions. Go up together." Yaz calmly pointed, sat in the secondary position, touched the screen with his fingers lightly. Although the wound was in pain, it did not affect her focus. The team was in place, the air was as heavy as a driver, and the rhythm of the monitor's howling sound was clear, like the counterattack of the heartbeat. The surgery begins. Professor Chen cut his chest with a knife, and the smell of blood spreads instantly. Under the light, the heart is exposed like red stones, and the valves are damaged clearly. Haoran's low voice indicator, AI, road prediction. From the active vent entrance, depth of 4.1 centimeters, avoiding the nerves. Green light guides the flash, nanochips are injected like miniature flying boats, and the serene inputs the hormone module, stable, immune response is 0.2%. The heart rhythm is normal. Everything is smooth, the chip is positioned smoothly, AI is instantly corrected, and the valve repair curve is smoothly up. Professor Chen yelled in a low voice, "How, it's amazing. The valve function has recovered by 80%. The room relaxed, and his elegant and quiet smiled at Haoran. "Haoran, our combination is perfect." The romantic sparks flashed in the crisis, and she couldn't help but recall the wind in her brain, the highway on the seaside, the wind blew her hair. The moment he kissed her, the world was as calm as she could. That belief is like a clerk, firming her hand. But just as the chip was stable, the suspicion exploded. The monitor suddenly became wild, the screen was red like blood, the data collapsed like an avalanche, the heart valve twitched violently, the chip path was twisted, and the electromagnetic impulse was like an invisible huge wave. Professor Chen's face turned pale. "Are you coming again?" "Dry. Heartbeat stops, remove the instrument." The patient's chest blood accelerated, the oxygen pump buzzed and the bloody smell mixed with sweat and panic. The nurse rushed forward and gave the stabilization agent, and the room was in a mess. "Li Chang." Haoran growled, AI gold finger flying speed scan. "This time is not a simple impulse, but a stronger version, multi-frequency interference, locking the chip quantum core, and the source point directly to the suburbs of the city." Sure enough, he was shocked to see threatening messages in his brain. Li Chang is manipulating himself, and his ambitions are exposed without any loss. This is not an accident, it is a full-scale attack, and the intention to destroy Huayao in its debut, allowing medical AI to become his forbidden area forever. The son of the observation room shouted through the glass, "Mom! Save her!" The threat of death was as strong as a rock. Haoran's heart was tight, but when he turned around, his calm face turned white, and his arm was injured and blood was hidden. When she just entered, the vibration caused the old injury to recur. He instinctively stepped forward, pushed the crowd and slapped in front of her. "Yajing, back down. There is a secondary electric risk, I'll come." Growth turns like a flash of electric shock. In the past, he would first look at AI and see human beings as variables. But now, we should protect her first. The instinct of a mature lover is overwhelming. Domineering is no longer a disconnect, but a shield. "Professor Chen, The block is fully opened. Lao Wang, cut the warehouse signal farther and end. Yajing didn't retreat, she bit her lip and stood up, her eyes were calm in pain, and she actively participated in the original reversal and burst out, Haoran, wait. Single blocking is not enough. When you recall the wind, you said freedom is foreseeing the future. My idea relying on neural plasticity, strengthening chip self-learning, and overflowing the interference frequency. Enter the change algorithm, 7.2 GHz plus 0.5 offset, making it as suitable as a brain. Her voice was crisp and sharp, despite her arms shaking, and she hit the screen at a speed, and she paid for it like a sharp sword. Haoran was stunned for a moment, and his heart was warm. Her courage saved me again. The two people are as tacit understanding as a couple, and their eyes are inattacked. He pointed, fuck. AI, fusing the Yajing algorithm. Full frequency is restarted. The golden fingers are buzzing, the blue light is prosperous, and the brain changes are like a rainstorm. The interference source is Li Chang's enhanced spiral, with doubled power, but the Yajing's offset idea perfectly counter-chip path reorganization, which is traversing the distortion area and reaching the core of the valve. Haoran actually adjusted the medical procedure. Professor Chen, inject 0.4 stable enzyme, from the backup port. The frequency is locked at 7.75 GHz. The team kept up with speed. Professor Chen was very skillful in his knife, and entered the final command in a gentle manner. His fingers slid due to pain, and he corrected them in time. The red light on the screen retreats, the curve is smooth, and the heart revives, the sound of the sound changes from irrelevant to stable, and the valve function increases by 95%. The pleasure is like a climax and bursting out. Haoran's AI genius proves that it is undoubtedly true. 3 seconds prediction, actual reverse rotation, and the treatment of victims is like a god. Professor Chen wiped his sweat and shouted, success. President Hao, you are simply a legend in the medical world. The room burst into shouting, and the son of the observation room was covered in tears, and shouted through the glass, thank you. Mom is alive. Yajing looked at this scene, and the emotion fell, and the purplish beads slid across the face and dripped on the screen. She turned to Haoran, and her voice choked, Haoran, your AI, no, your persistence saved your life. And we, recalling the wind, the sea wind and kiss, made me believe that love is the best technology in crisis. Her purity is like a pearl, and the romantic elements are released in the life and death test, deepening the combination of technology and love. Haoran stepped forward, wiped her cleansingly, and wiped her into the air. The domineering outer shell melted down, elegant, thank you for your idea. Without you, I am just a half-genius. The inner transformation completed, in the face of death, he protected her first, allowing him to grow from a technology madman to a mature love. Love is not a weakness, but a source of strength. The bloody smell dissipates, and the aroma of coffee enters from outside the door, like the sweetness after the sacrificial pie. But the doubts have not stopped. The AI scan ended, and a hidden record appeared. Li Chang's voice was as deep as a ghost. Haoran, his debut has been destroyed, your empire is over. Medical AI, it should be my ambition to destroy the market, sell it to the black market, and let the poor wait for death forever. Exposing his ambitions as thunder, he controlled himself, and controlled everything from the warehouse. The idea not only destroyed Huayao, but also controlled the global medical life. Professor Chen browsed, this record, the certificate is the Iron Certificate. General Hao, the police arrest him. Haoran pointed his head, his eyes were like fire, it's not just the police. I'll go to the warehouse to end this battle. Yajing, you rest, I'll take a team. She shook his hand tightly, Haoran, together. Dofeng's belief cannot be reduced. The lights in the surgery room became dim, the patient was pushed into the recovery room, and the team dispersed. Haoran Fuya calmly left, the bell in the hospital corridor sounded, and the neon lights of City A entered from the window, indicating that the final conflict was coming. Li Chang's ambition was like a dark tide, but the love between the two has become a failure. Outside, the seaside storm brings the aroma of coffee, and the future will be bright in the midst of the crisis. The lights in the hospital corridor were as soft as those of tired night watchmen. Haoran helped Yajing out of the surgery room, and the two of them walked lightly and calmly. The patient's mother had been pushed into the recovery room, the monitor's roar was far away, the air was still filled with the smell of blood and disinfectant, and the iron fragrance of the far coffee bar, the heat, flying from the elevator entrance, like a remote comfort. Professor Chen followed behind and wiped his sweat and said in a low voice, "General Hao, this reversal is so amazing. Your AI has saved more than one life. I will back the police with the record of the audio certificate." Haoran looked sharp and his eyes were as sharp as a keel. "Thank you, Professor Chen. Huayao's medical AI will be officially launched from today. Tell the patient's family to follow you for free." He turned to Yajing, her arms were covered with blood, her face was white, and her eyes were bright. "Yajing, go back to the company first. You can't delay your injuries." Elegantly snatched his sleeves tightly, and his voice was stubborn. "Haoran, go to the warehouse together." Li Chang's recording revealed his ambitions. He thought remote interference could destroy us. To dream. My algorithm idea proves that technology can backfire. Her jasmine fragrance lingered under the sterile robe, warming Haoran's heart. From the experiment room to the surgery room and shoulders, she has become an indispensable pillar from an assistant. The silver-gray sport car was roaring in the afternoon stream in City A, and the engine sounded as determined as a mighty determination. The sea breeze poured in from the semi-open window, smearing the scent of scented blue beans on the road, which made the elegant and quiet pain slightly. She leaned against the seat and said in a low voice, "Haoran, at that moment in the surgery room, I thought we were finished. When your AI predicts the road, the green light is like hope. But Li Chang, what will he do next?" Haoran glanced at her, reached over to cover her knees, and felt a soundless oath, "I'll predict." He started the hand ring, the AI gold fingers buzzed and the blue light flashed like a silver river in his brain. Data is like a rainstorm. After analyzing Li Chang's music, warehouse IP traffic, black market transaction records, and even predicting his escape route, the suburban industrial district, there is a secret tunnel that leads to the A-City airport. He will sell equipment and transfer assets. Next, at 8 o'clock tonight, the warehouse self-destruction program will be launched, and then fly overseas. But the ghost has a tail. Yajing widened her eyes. Inside her? Xiao Lu, deputy manager of R&D, who Lao Wang said, has been arrested. But how does the AI know? Because I modeled his behavior pattern. Haoran sneered, with wisdom in his domineering spirit, little Lu is not the head. There is greater force behind it, the Black Market Medical Alliance, specializing in the suppression of high-priced drugs. Li Chang is just a pawn. They called neuroshares to let the ghosts implant in the back door. The pleasure comes, I set up a counterattack. At 7 o'clock tonight, we took the police to raid the warehouse. AI simulated the whole scene, blocking the tunnel, cutting the self-destruction signal, and arresting Li Chang. He was still showing off. The car turned into the underground car warehouse of Huayao building, and the team was on standby in the meeting room. Lao Wang wiped his sweat and said excitedly, "General, the police have contacted him. Professor Chen's certificate board, they used special police. But the ghost." Haoran pushed the door in, and the projection screen opened like a blue picture of the war scene. AI has predicted it. Xiao Lu confessed, the leader of the alliance is the old fox Xiao Tian, hidden in the financial circle of a city. The ghost not only has the R&D department, but also as a small staff member for finance. Last night, he transferred 500,000 to Li Chang. He knocked on the ring, and the animation on the screen reappeared, Xiao Lu's transfer path, Zhao Yan's IP tracking, and even predicted that Zhao Tian would be connected to the warehouse. A 7-point action, Lao Wang brought the engineer to cut the signal, and Yajing and I went to the warehouse by ourselves. The police encircled and arrested the ghost. The team buzzed and some people yelled, "General, this game is too ruthless. Li Chang is finished." Old Wang slapped the table and said, "Huayao will fight back, fuck him." Haoran looked at the crowd and was as domineering as the king. This is not revenge, it is just justice. Medical AI, to save people, is not black market toys. Who dares to beat them and crush them? In the afternoon, Yajing was resting in the top apartment. Haoran changed her medicine and his movements were as soft as a piano. Yajing, is it better to hurt? Tonight, don't go into the warehouse. It's too dangerous. She pouted, pushed his shoulder, and made a sure thing in her playfulness. Haoran, have you forgotten how I built the prototype? I am your pillar, not a vase. Go together to prove our combination, technology and love, unrivaled. Her eyes were like autumn water, reflecting his shadow, making Haoran feel soft. I have passed away in my heart. In the past, I pursued perfect technology and saw that my feelings were variable. But when she fell in the surgery room, I realized that cherishing it now is the real victory. Elegance and tranquility have become the pillar of my life. At 7 o'clock, the night sky was drooping in the industrial area of the city, and the warehouse stood like a black shadow. The pungent smell of iron and oil in the air was filled with the scent of sea winds. Haoran and Yajing wanted behind the car, and the special police surrounded the tunnel, and Lao Wang cut the signal farther away. AI projection is added to the field. Li Chang is flashing in the warehouse. He is operating a self-destructive program. The quantum meter on the screen is buzzing, and his face is as dark as a ghost. Haoran, come in. He silenced and shook his hand tightly. The two people dived into the side, their steps were soundless like cats, and the blue light guided them to avoid monitoring. The lights in the warehouse are dim and yellow, the equipment stands like monsters, and the core of the electromagnetic instrument is flashing red. Li Chang turned around and widened his eyes. You? Impossible. My alliance. Zhao Tian will save me. Haoran took a step forward, and the domineering atmosphere was pressing people. His hand ring was buzzing. Save? AI has predicted. The aircraft in Zhao Tian was just being slapped at the airport. Your self-destruction procedure? Lao Wang cut the power. He knocked on the hand ring, and the projection exhibition opened avalanche, alliance transaction records, ghost transfers, and even the conversation between Zhao Tian and Li Chang. When you have broken medical treatment, let people buy orders, we will make money. The original turnover exploded. AI digs deep and finds that behind the alliance is a cross-border black market group, manipulating half of the fakes in City A. But Haoran's pre-installation technology certificate, Huayao satellite tracking, locking global assets, and certifying that their devices have caused many medical accidents. Li Chang's face turned pale and stepped back and ran into the equipment. Haoran, how did you know? My ambition is for fairness. Huayao's failure. Fair? Haoran sneered, and Yajing stepped forward and repaired the knife. Fairness is to save people, not kill people. In the surgery room, you almost killed that mother. Your impotence, AI has simulated thousands of victims around the world. Her voice must be like iron, and her wounds are full of courage. The special police broke into the door. Li Chang was imprisoned. Zhao Tian fell into the internet outside the tunnel, and the ghost Xiaolu and financial officer were arrested at the same time. Every step of AI prediction was as accurate as a god. The pleasure is as if it is a climax. Haoran's wisdom and domineeringness are as good as the Bureau's counterattack. The alliance is disintegrated, the entire chain is arrested, Huayao is reborn from the crisis, and his business is as stable as a rock. The police praised General Hao. This certificate has been sentenced to no end. Outside the warehouse, the night wind blew away the tightness. Haoran and Yajing walked out on their shoulders, and Lao Wang rushed up and slapped. President, win. Li Chang's chastity collapsed and the alliance collapsed. Tomorrow, medical AI will be released globally, and Huayao's market value will double. The team shouted, and neon lights entered from afar, like a victorious fire. On the way back, Haoran opened his car and turned into the seaside highway. The moonlight was on the top of the car, and the waves hit the shore sounded like drums. Silenced, Haoran, the crisis has been resolved. But after the surgery was successful, I always wanted to say. He stopped the car and turned to look at her with deep eyes. Say it. From the experiment room to the warehouse, you are my pillar. In the past, I pursued perfect technology and ignored the present. But tonight, seeing your courage, I understand, cherishing you is the real harvest. Growth turned like a tide, and he turned from a technology madman to a loving man. The elegant and silent light flashed, approaching. Haoran, I love you. Not only the genius president, but you who kissed me gently in the wind. In crisis, you protect me and let me know that love is eternal AI. She took the initiative to kiss his lips, sweet as honey, and the romantic highlights were displayed in the sea. Two exciting news. After the lovely confession, the two kissed each other, accompanied by the sound of the waves, and the love was full of paintings. But after the kiss, Haoran said lightly, elegant, the alliance has collapsed, but the black market party, AI predicted, and there was a small tail. Finally, we built that coffee laboratory, drinking coffee, and protecting the world. She pointed and leaned against him, together. Now, it is heaven. The neon lights in City A continue, the car growled forward, and the crisis is in the future, like the stars shining. The neon lights in City A meander like a colorful river, the gray sport car roared forward on the sea highway, the sound of the waves swept into the window, and the moist night wind and the aroma of blue beans from the coffee far away made Haoran an elegant and quiet time forget to be tired. Yajing leaned on the seat, and the bag on her arm was intimately painful, but her eyes were as bright as stars. Haoran, Lichang has fallen online, and the alliance has collapsed. The first show of medical AI has been successful, and the global conference will be released tomorrow, and Huayao will be in a state of great success. Haoran held the direction plate tightly, and a sneer appeared on the corner of his mouth, revealing a rare relaxation. Yes. But this is just the beginning. The AI is still following the tail of the black market. The assets of the old fox in Zhaotian were broken, but the ropes showed that they had overseas attacks. His voice was low, and he was exhausted in the domineering and overbearing. The inner self is as unreliable as the tide. I will win, but I will not move on. In my childhood, after my family passed away, I was afraid of repeating it, protecting technology and destroying the people closest to me. Yajing, don't leave me. The car turned into Huayao building, the lights on the top apartment were warm, Lao Wang and his team were already waiting at the elevator entrance, and their faces were filled with exciting red. The air is filled with the ardent aroma of coffee, the Italian-style swelling that is automatically bubbled, and the steam rises, like a smoke after the war. General. The police confirmed that Li Chang and Zhao Tian had all the tricks. The inner demon cleaned up and the money lost their 500,000 black money. Lao Wang danced on the tablet, and the arrest video was dancing on the screen. The scene of Li Chang being banished to the police car made everyone cry. Haoran pointed his head and patted Lao Wang on the shoulder. Fuck well. After the surgery room crisis, the patient's mother was in good health. The son sent a letter of thanks. A meeting will be released tomorrow. You will be the director of the demonstration. Let's go, and you will have a rest early. The team swung their palms and sang loudly in the corridor, as if they had a long drought and rain. Yajing looked at Haoran and said lightly, Haoran, you are tired. I'm fine with the surgeries in the surgery room, but what about you? I haven't stopped from the warehouse here. He turned around and hugged her, hugging her warmly like Hong Kong. I'm not tired with you. Let's go and sleep. The court will see Li Chang for the last time tomorrow and end all this. The next day, the head of the High Court of City A was in full swing, and the sunlight shone through the high window, reflecting the marble floor like a mirror, the smell of leather shoes of the mixed lawyer in the air and the bitter fragrance of the coffee shop. Haoran was wearing a deep blue dress, with a stern and elegant look around him. The clean gray suit wrapped around his delicate figure, and the cloth on his arms was visible. In the court, the judge knocked on the court. Li Chang sat in the dock, with gray hair and slapped eyes as dark as a dog. Zhao Tian and the ghost Xiaolu lined up, and the guard had become a cloud of smoke. The prosecutor stood up and said, Defendants Li Chang, Zhao Tian, etc. are suspected of commercial affairs, medical damage, and black market transactions. The evidence includes remote control device recording, surgical room interference video, and AI tracking data of Huayaoxing Medical. He clicked the projection screen, and Li Chang's warehouse screen appeared, quantum equipment buzzing, self-destructing program flash, recording sounds. When the doctor is shattered, let the people buy orders, we will raise money. The audience buzzed the discussion, and the reporters wrote about flying dance. Lawyer Lee stood up to show his care and said slickly, "This is a competition. Huayao has broken the market, and we are just taking his own actions. The evidence is not enough to be convicted." Haoran stood up and gave an accurate speech. His aura was like a king's descending, looking at the whole scene, and showing his domineering expression. "Due to the judge, I am Haoran, Huayao founder. It's not a competition, but a killing plan." He started the ring, the AI gold finger quietly moved, and the blue light projection opened like a silver river. The surgery room crisis reappeared, the red light collapsed, the heart rhythm plummeted, the slow lens that fell quietly, and the green light path that turned backwards. Data avalanche-like consequences, the frequency matching Lichang equipment, global black market accident simulation predicted by thousands of victims, assets flowing overseas, and even the aircraft routes in Zhaotian were predicted and intercepted by AI. The court was silent as if dead, and the judge widened his eyes. "This AI is accurate to predictive behavior?" Li Chang's face turned pale and murmured, "Impossible, why are you?" His ambitions were like a ball, and the ghost Lu sobbed lowered. Haoran continued, and his voice was like a troll, "Li Chang, do you think remote interference can destroy me?" Error. Huayao's medical AI not only saves people, but also exposes his trolls. Certification of the Iron Certification, your record of the transfer, the confession of the ghost, and the entire chain of the Black Market Alliance. Outside the court, the global media has broadcast live. Your empire is over. The audience burst into low voices, and the lights were shining like rain. The judge called out, "The defendant was found guilty. Li Chang, sentenced to no imprisonment, 20 years, internal ghosts were offended, 10 years. Li Chang was on the chair and murmured, "Haoran, I was wrong. Ambition destroyed me." The pleasure was like a climax. Haoran's AI certificate was like a magic weapon falling from the sky, which was very satisfying. The career was successful. Huayao's market value rose. The order on the first day of medical AI listing exceeded 10 million, and the A market paper was headlined, "The genius president is smart and the black market is wise, and the doctor is in trouble." Outside the court, Yang Guang was burning. Yajing held Haoran's hand and said with a whisper, "Haoran, you won. Li Qiangbei, when the team is proud of his skills, I want to give you a cup." But Haoran didn't smile. His eyes flashed over the shadows. "Yajing, I'm so successful, why is my heart empty? When my childhood car, after my family left, I suggested Huayao to protect him, but I was afraid of losing it. When you fall down in the surgery room, it may feel like I've reappeared that year." Ye calmly stopped, turned to face him, holding his face with both hands, and his eyes were as gentle as the sea. "Haoran, face it. I'm afraid it's not a weakness, but a reminder to cherish it. In the past, you took it on your own, now, I have me. We plan the future together. Huayao expands the world, build a coffee laboratory, and drink coffee while teaching people medical knowledge. In the black market, AI will chase it, no one can destroy our love." Her words are like spring rain, pouring into her heart. Haoran took a deep breath, and his inner soul changed like a broken heart, from a terrifying prisoner to a man who embraced the future. He hugged her and said in a low voice, "Yajing, thank you. In the future, we will build it together." The team opened in the hot spot at the Huayao Top Banquet Hall. The flashing medical AI demonstration on the blue light projection screen, the fragrance of the fragrant smell in the air and the bitterness of coffee. The Datang Coffee Bar specializes in the blue beans, and the heat rises. Lao Wang held a cup, to the president and Yajing. After the surgery room was in crisis, Huayao was reborn and the orders were flying like snowflakes. The engineer whispered, and someone whispered, "Sister Yajing's algorithm saved his debut." Professor Chen's remote video, the patient's mother was discharged from the hospital. "Thank you, Huayao." Haoran held Yajing's hand and watched the crowd with a loud voice, "This is the team's victory. After the crisis, we not only repaired the prototype, but also upgraded the shield module. In the future, Huayao will not only be technology, but but also guardian. Yajing smiled and echoed, I also have love, and I write it in the experiment room. Everyone was moved, and the atmosphere was as calm as the day. After earning her skills, Haoran opened her elegant and quiet style on the running car. The moonlight on the sea highway was like silver. The engine was roaring, and the wind blew her hair, the smell of the scent of the scattered waves and the aroma of the coffee on the road. I wish you success. Haoran slowed down, stopped at the viewing platform beside the sea, turned around and kissed her. Her lips were as warm as honey, and romantic highlights were as bright as waves. Elegantly responded, with both arms and necks, Haoran, this wind is like the first encounter. I will cherish it even more after the crisis. After the kiss, they turned into the corner coffee shop. The wooden door squeaked and pushed open, the familiar blue bean-flavored noodles, and the corner booth was private. The waiter brought the iron, milk foam heart-shaped pattern, and the heat was used. Yajing took a sip and said, Haoran, you are so domineering in court. As the voice fell, Haoran's mobile phone vibrated, and a supervisor called. Yajing asked to meet. The next day, under the cold and hard light in the exploration room, Li Chang's face was as white as paper through the glass. Haoran, I regret it. Ambition has ruined everything. The black market party has an overseas headlined Victor, who controls the fake drug line in Europe. I have his contact code. I wanted to pull you into the pills, but now I will give you. Don't let them destroy more people. He passed the paper and his eyes were complicated. I'm sorry, the stern wound, it's me. Haoran took it and moved his heart. Original reversal is like light. Li Chang repented and provides a new thread. Victor's code is directly aimed at the core of the black market. Haoran did not sneer, and his broad-mindedness showed maturity. Li Chang, I hated you in the past, but technology is to save people, not revenge. I will use this thread. I will reflect on it in prison. He stood up and left, waiting quietly outside, and said in a low voice, Haoran, you are broad-minded. You are more charming when you are mature. On the way back, Haoran entered the code to AI, predicting the location of Victor. European operation will start next month. Elegant, our future is not just Huayao. She pointed and leaned on his shoulder. Together. The coffee laboratory starts from City A. The sea wind blew, the city's lights continued, the struggles were strengthened, and the emotions deepened. The black market was like a tail flame, indicating that it would be finally protected. The autumn wind of City A brushes over the glass curtain wall of Huayao building like a light, and the sunlight enters the top-level meeting room. The blue light projection screen flashes the global map. The red point marks the spots of the black market party, from Europe to Asia, like scattered chess pieces. Haoran leaned on the back of the chair, his hand was slightly buzzing, and the AI gold fingers had digested Li Chang's thread. Victor's contact code pointed directly to the Swiss underground laboratory, which was the core of black market medicine. Yajing sat beside him, her wounds were healed, her hair was shawl, and her eyes were full of determination. She picked up a cup of Blue Mountain coffee, and the heat rose, and the bitter fragrance spread out, giving the air a little warmth. Haoran, Li Chang's remorse is in time. Yajing said in a low voice, approaching the projection, I simulated the direction of Victor's assets last night. If you block his hypothesis line, the global medical landscape will change drastically. Haoran pointed his head, smiled at the corner of his mouth, and softly felt overwhelmed. Yes. Your algorithm has made the AI prediction accuracy exceed 100%. Tonight, we end this wave. He knocked on the ring and the animation on the screen opened. Huayao's international team teamed up with the European police, raiding into the Swiss laboratory. Satellite tracking and quantum encryption cracking, everything is as smooth as predicted. When Victor was arrested, his face was blue and the pseudo-dirty equipment in the warehouse turned gray. News pops up, global media headlines, Huayao AI collapses the black market alliance, and the medical revolution kicks off. Lao Wang entered the conference room, and the tablet was filled with order data. General. In the first week of medical AI launch, the orders worldwide exceeded 100 million. The entire line of the hospital in a city was adopted, and the mother patient of the central hospital has been discharged and returned home. Professor Chen said that this technology has changed the risk of urban medicine, predicting surgery, saving countless lives. Haoran stood up and watched the team, and his voice was as loud as a horn. This is our victory. Not only technology, but also righteousness. The black market and the entirety of Lichang's search made us win cleanly. During the meeting, we are ready to celebrate the global recognition. Elegant and quiet, come with me. The next day, the International Conference Center of a city was crowded with people, the global medical leader cloud collection, the golden light under the crystal sling, the fragrant smell of the air mixed in the air and the Italian-style scent of the coffee bar. The venue designed Blue Bean Supply, which is popular and allows the tight atmosphere to relax a little. On the stage, holographic projection appears in Huayao's medical AI demonstration. Virtual surgery is like a science fiction movie. Nanochip injection, AI predicts path to line green light flash, with a success rate of 99.9%. There was a thunderous sound in the audience, and the chairman of the United Nations Medical Group stood up and rewarded, Mr. Haoran, Huayao AI has changed the world. From City A to the world, predictive medical treatment will prevent the slaughter from waiting for death. Congratulations. Haoran walked onto the stage with elegant and quiet hands, and the lights were as bright as the river of stars. He was so arrogant that he was domineering in the West, with gentle eyes. He received the prize cup and watched the audience. His voice was low and magnetic. Thank you to my global partners. This AI is not my only contribution. From the cooperation in the laboratory to the crisis in the laboratory, we have experienced jealousy and life and death. But with her, Linya Silent, my assistant, partner, and love, her genius idea has filled my blindness. Her courage has saved the patient and saved me. The audience was buzzing and humming, with elegant faces slightly red, and eyes were as moist as autumn water. Haoran turned to her, knelt on his knees, took out the diamond ring from the inner bag of the suit, the blue stone inlay, reflecting the blue light like their technological dream. The lights focus, and the music is soft, like the jazz of the old Shanghai cafe. Elegant and quiet, from the first kiss on the sea of wind to the counterattack of the warehouse, you have made me transform from a lonely genius to a loving man. Marry me and let us protect this world together. Technology and love, never separate. The elegant and silent light flashed, and the tip was like a flower. Haoran, I wish. Everything started from the laboratory to eternity. He stood up and kissed her, his lips were warm, and the audience burst into tears, and the light flashed like fire. The romantic climax came like a wave, and the global live broadcast spread throughout City A. The popular online comments, the domineering president proposes, the gods love each other. Lao Wang wiped the audience, Sister Yajing, congratulations. With you, there is no enemy. After the ceremony, the final verdict of the court was as eye-catching as a dragon. Li Chang, Zhao Tian and Victor gathered together, and the judge said, based on Huayao AI certificate, the crime was convicted. Li Chang is sentenced to no imprisonment, Zhao Tian and Victor are 30 years. Black market medical doctors are forever banned. Li Chang lowered his head through the glass and convicted, Haoran, thank you for your broadness. Mine ambition has destroyed freedom. Just extending the righteousness an iron fell, in the headline of the A market paper, the black market empire collapsed, and Huayao opened a new bank. The business has won, and the medical pattern has been reshaped. The painless surgery rate of hospitals in a city has increased by 90%, the global medical cost of humans has dropped by half, and Huayao's market value has exceeded 1,000 billion. As the sun sets, Haoran opens the elegant and quiet style of the silver-gray race car. The sea highway opens like a golden belt. As the engine grows low, the wind blows her hair, the smell of the scattered waves and the blue bean fragrance of coffee on the road. Xiao Shu boss exclaims, General Hao, congratulations on the proposal. Get a free iron for a cup. Yajing takes the hot drink, the heart-shaped pattern of milk foam, and the heat rises. She takes a sip and is as sweet as honey. Haoran, this wind is like our starting point. After the crisis, the world has changed. Haoran slowed down, stopped at the viewing platform, turned around and held her hand, his eyes as deep as the sea. Yes. In the past, I thought technology was the whole, building an empire domineeringly, but I ignored the hollowness in my heart. After my family passed away, I was afraid of losing it, so I became more engaged in AI. But you, elegant and tranquil, let me rely on it. From the first idea in the laboratory to the courage of the laboratory, you provide eternal support. I have changed, no longer lonely wolf, but a key hand with a companion. Love is not a change, but a strength. Yajing leaned on his shoulder and smiled like a flower. Haoran, you also let me realize my dreams. We have already started working in the coffee laboratory, the first store that combines a coffee shop and a medical center in the suburbs of City A. The guests drink Blue Mountains, learn about their hearts and knowledge, and follow their health after chip implantation. Technology and people are no longer cold. She decided to do it, and her heart is as unique as a warm current. From assistant to fiancé, I have grown to be his pillar. Crisis is tempered and makes love even more intense. The two of them laughed at each other, and the kiss fell in the sea, as sweet as coffee. The car continued to move forward, and the city's lights were lit, indicating that it was impossible. Half a year later, the coffee experiment room in the suburbs of City A opened, with warm wooden faces, and the fragrance of blue beans spreading around the streets, huddling the laughter of children and the soft buzzing of AI projection. Haoran held the elegant and calm hand and pushed the door in, and the guest came into contact with him. A mother brought a son to learn about the knowledge of the mind, and the green demonstration chip was implanted on the projection screen. Lao Wang held the iron and smiled. President, the order was broken again. Global branch planning, all the elegant and quiet ideas were used. Yajing smiled and touched with her slightly raised belly. Haoran, our baby was born in this technology and love home. Haoran kissed her head, domineering and gentle. Yes. In the future, he will inherit AI and protect more people. But most importantly, our family warm and complete. The children came up and pulled his pants legs. Uncle, tell the story. The hero of the surgery room. Haoran squatted down and talked about the adventure from the experiment room to the proposal. He was calm and silenced to drink coffee on the side. His eyes were filled with happiness while he was in a hot life. Outside the window, the neon lights in City A continue, and the sea wind brings eternal fragrance. Technology and love are perfectly combined, like a cup of Blue Mountains. After bitterness, it is as sweet as it is. Their journey is over and over, and they create every reader, protecting not only dreams, but also each other.